Chapter 204. It was true that there was another disaster in the south. The news was urgently sent back by Baiyu. Baiyu had always been kind. In the face of the disaster, he was always the most worried. When he encountered a problem, he would immediately ask Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng for help, hoping to prevent the disaster before it happened. Chu Xiang did not like to give up halfway. Since she was in charge of the disaster, she had to take care of it to the end. So she left the capital overnight and rushed to the disaster area with a group of demons under her command at the fastest speed. Chu Xiang asked her demons to wait in the outskirts of the city. She went directly into Bai Yi's tent. Bai Yi raised her head. There was less sadness and more determination in her eyes. Seeing that it was Chu Xiang, she was obviously relieved. She stood up to welcome her. "Sister, you're finally here." The situation here had just stabilized. Baiyu calculated that there would be a flood in 3 days. It might drown here. He went to discuss with the prefectural magistrate about the evacuation. It's not easy to evacuate. We have to discuss everything. I don't know if it will succeed. I don't know if other places are willing to accept these victims. Chu Xiang pulled her out without saying anything. "Let's go. Take me to see it. Tell me the details of the situation." Okay. Bai Yi took Chu Xiang to see the victims and patients who had been settled, as well as the collapsed houses and the destroyed farmlands. Then she took her to the river to see the unusual situation in the water. On the way, she explained everything that had happened in the past few months in detail. The rain continued to fall heavily. Chu Xiang flew to the surface of the river. She crouched down and attached a layer of spiritual energy to her hand. She stretched her hand into the water and felt the abnormal flow of the river water. After a moment, she had an idea. She frowned slightly and looked at the green mountains around her. It was so quiet that there was not even a bird's cry. There's going to be a flood here. Not only rainstorms and floods, but also mountain floods. Bai looked worried. "Sister, what should we do? Many patients are seriously ill. It's impossible for them to evacuate in 3 days. It's very likely that they will die because of the turbulence. We've worked so hard for so long. Is it still not enough? Of course not." Chu Xiang stood with her hands behind her back. She looked at the river thoughtfully. After a while she said, "Since this is a disaster and not an earthquake, the flood is not to fight or punish anyone. As long as we can stop the flood, we will be able to resolve this disaster." Bai Yi blinked and looked at her in surprise. "Sister, you are we? Using demon power? But we are demons. Will something go wrong if we interfere with the Imperial Court's disaster relief so blatantly? Those senior humans can't tolerate us. If many people know of our existence, they will do everything they can to kill us." Chu Xiang chuckled. "That's only if they have the ability. Don't worry, Yufeng has been paving the way for my identity for a long time. In this 1 month, people's impression of demons is no longer as rigid as before. It's time for me to personally add fuel to the fire. If you want to be exposed to the sunlight, you have to go through a struggle. Did you see the look of anticipation on those demons' faces? Do you still remember how Baiyu escaped silently and was wrongly accused? Only those who were truly recognized could live a comfortable life in the human world. Humans and demons should not oppose each other. I am willing to establish order in the demon realm, so that humans and demons can coexist peacefully. What about you?" There was no demon king in the demon realm. Everyone cultivated on their own, but by default, no one disturbed anyone, and no one went to another's territory to behave atrociously. If they really bumped into each other, the strong would be respected. This was an eternal truth. Now Chu Xiang wanted to establish order in the demon realm? Then Chu Xiang meant that she wanted to proclaim herself as queen? Bai Yi couldn't help but feel her blood boil. "Of course I support elder sister. I will support whatever decision you make." "Elder sister, are you doing this for Li Yufeng? I've never heard of you wanting to care about the demon realm. Now that Li Yufeng wants to make you the next empress, are you?" "No." Chu Xiang shook her head and smiled helplessly at her. Your brain can't turn around. Why do I have to do everything for a man? If I want to do something, it must be because I want to do it. Maybe it's just a whim and I just did it when I thought of it. As for the empress position, do you think I will accept it gratefully?" Bai Yi thought about Li Yufeng's attitude towards Chu Xiang and subconsciously shook her head. It doesn't seem like it. It's Li Yufeng who begged you to be the empress. He was afraid that you wouldn't be willing and wouldn't give him the title. Elder sister. I thought wrongly, I thought. Chu Xiang pinched her soft cheeks. It's because you don't put yourself first that you are so easily taken advantage of. Remember, no matter how much you love someone in the future, don't put yourself in a lower position than him. He doesn't give anything to you. It's whether you want it or not. Remember? I remember, elder sister. Bai Yi rubbed her face and muttered. I just didn't think that you would want to be the demon king. Those demons are harder to manage than the last. Who knows how much trouble they will cause? That's right, elder sister. What if there are evil demons and others blame it on you? There have been many evil things in the past. What does it have to do with whether they are humans or demons? In the future, the people will only be divided into good and bad, not humans and demons. Humans and demons will all be citizens of our dynasty, and should live and work in peace. Moreover, humans can ask demons for help and have them do good deeds to help them cultivate. Demons can easily enrich our dynasty's resources by taking things from the mountains and forests. Living in harmony will allow the country to prosper to the greatest extent, so why not? Once humans and demons get benefits, no one will have any more objections. Bai Yi nodded as if she understood, but she was still very confused. Then what should we do? Chu Xiang looked at the surging river and revealed a faint smile. In order to show our sincerity, let's first give humans a big gift. Chu Xiang issued a summons, summoning all demons to come to the disaster area within 3 days. During this time, the reputation of Fairy Empress had spread far and wide. It was a strange thing that the demons under her were doing good deeds everywhere, and it spread throughout the demon world. Most demons were waiting to see what she wanted to do. Once this summons was issued, all the demons knew. Some demons snorted at this, some demons were bored and rushed over, and some demons were kind and willing to help. Of course, there were also those who dared not offend Chu Xiang and went without thinking. In short, except for a portion of demons who ignored Chu Xiang, about 2/3 of the demons gathered in the mountains not far from the disaster area. Among these 2/3, there were some who were watching the fun and hadn't decided whether to help or not. But after seeing Chu Xiang, they all agreed to stay. What a joke! Chu Xiang's reward was a top-grade pill. Since they were already here, wouldn't they be fools if they didn't want it? Anyway, it was just a piece of cake for them to control the flood and use demon techniques. Then the more they interacted with Chu Xiang, the more they were convinced by Chu Xiang. In the demon realm, the strong are respected was not an empty phrase. Every demon had a strong mentality, and Chu Xiang was not only strong in one aspect. They simply could not find any weakness in her. They even truly understood why the commoners gave her the title of fairy. She really deserved this title. Chu Xiang ordered all the demons who were good at medicine to treat the patients. Those who were good at magic to carry materials to build the dam and move boulders to block the flood. Those who were good at confusing people to appease the desperate victims. Those who were good at raising money and materials. Those who were careful and gentle to distribute materials and make porridge and medicine. There were also those who were in charge of managing the village, patrolling, hunting, building houses, and so on. Demons were in charge of all aspects, and they were all in their own fields. Every demon felt very fresh and worked very hard. Every time they did something and received the gratitude of the victims, their hearts were full, happy and full. Chu Xiang wanted to do something, so of course she didn't want to keep a low profile. She didn't hide the fact that these do-gooders who came out of nowhere were all demons. She directly took the emperor's handwritten order to the magistrate and took over the management of the Curtain land, asking the magistrate and the officials to cooperate with her unconditionally. The officials here had been changed and were originally Li Yufeng's people. She was the princess of Lord Xiaoyao and had the emperor's handwritten order, so they naturally followed her orders. Even if some people didn't agree and didn't believe in demons, they all cooperated fully. No one made trouble or dragged her down. The effect of demon power was far beyond the imagination of human beings, especially when hundreds and thousands of demons did the same thing together. In just 3 days, the disaster area had changed a lot. Not only were there tidy and clean houses for the victims to live in, but there were also enough food, medicine, and doctors. Even a dam had been built at the riverside, which made people feel helpless. They had made all the necessary preparations, so the people who were originally terrified easily accepted these fairies who brought them warmth. In the face of danger, who would care whether they were humans or demons? Those who could help them were their benefactors. Even if they were demons, they were good demons. Otherwise, why would they save them? Chu Xiang chose a good time. When the people here were most desperate, it was not the imperial court or the bodhisattva who saved them, but the demons led by Chu Xiang. No matter what they thought of demons before, this time they sincerely accepted these demons and were grateful to these demons from the bottom of their hearts. The 3 days that Bai Yu calculated had arrived. From early in the morning, there was an ominous feeling that a storm was coming. It was gloomy and the trees were swaying from the strong wind. The sand and stones were blown up by the wind, and could even scratch people's faces. Chu Xiang ordered the whole city to be under martial law. No one was allowed to go out. The demons were scattered in various places to patrol. The big demons were arranged by Chu Xiang to guard over a dozen specific places. She set up the flood control array. The spiritual power of these big demons was what activated the array. Bai Yu brought the demons who had water techniques into the water, and kept calming the surging water. The rain poured down, making people unable to open their eyes. But this was just a matter of time for the demons. None of them were drenched by the rain. They all followed Chu Xiang's instructions. All the people leaned against the window to see the situation outside. They were afraid, nervous, and curious. Everyone saw Chu Xiang slowly rise into the air. This was the first time they truly understood that Chu Xiang was a demon. Chu Xiang carefully felt the wind direction and the density of the rain. She calculated with her fingers and gave the order at the most appropriate time. Divert the water. Divert the water to other places. All the demons in the mountain listened to my order. Move the trees and stones and stop the flood. Yes. The people did not see who was casting the spell. They only saw that the rain falling from the sky was no longer falling straight down. Instead, it split into several waves and was diverted in different directions. In the distance was the mountainside. Many trees and boulders were moving. They had never seen such a spectacle before. Perhaps the people had never seen it before. Everyone exclaimed and subconsciously stared with wide eyes. It was not just the rain in the sky. There was also the river and river water being diverted to different places by the demons with water techniques. They were all safe places. The water source on the mountain was the most important. Many demons kept casting spells to stop the flood. However, the rain became heavier. An hour later, dozens of voices reached Chu Xiang's ears. Sister Chu, we can't divert anymore. The water level in the river over there is too high. Sister Chu, the flood is about to erupt. There are not enough trees and stones nearby. We might not be able to stop it. Sister Chu, the water is becoming more and more unstable. I don't have enough spiritual power. I need someone else. Sister Chu, I have a child who ran out and slipped into the water. I'll go save him. Send someone to replace me to patrol. Chu Xiang looked at the situation. She threw the artifact that she had refined 3 times into the river. This artifact had the same effect as the sea-stabilizing divine needle. Its purpose was to stabilize the river water. However, she did not have enough materials, and the refining time was short. Of course, the effect was several times worse than the sea-stabilizing divine needle. It could only stabilize the river water temporarily. The artifact was constantly being used up. She could not rely on this to completely solve the problem. The flood was inevitable. She had to weaken the flood's power before it arrived. Otherwise, with such a huge disaster, even if their demon powers were strong and they had her ancient array, they might not be able to stop it. In such a huge city with a huge population, there were also many unexpected incidents. Some were about to give birth. Some were suddenly critically ill. Some were disobedient and ran out to meet with danger. There were also cases of houses collapsing. There were many, many cases where the patrolling demons were rescuing people. The demons who were good at medicine were also constantly running around. They did not want anyone to die in this disaster. There were only so many water element demons. After holding on for so long, their spiritual power was almost exhausted. They could not hold on any longer. Finally, when they were exhausted, the flood roared like a ferocious beast. Chu Xiang said seriously, "Demons, listen to my order. Activate the flood control array. Follow me and stop the flood." Yes, they responded in unison. Dozens of demons channeled their spiritual power into the array at the same time. Chu Xiang, who was at the eye of the array, sat down cross-legged and performed the incantation to activate the flood control array. Dozens of light pillars were projected to the horizon. It was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Then the light pillars were like a barrier. They blocked the raging flood and also blocked the Yama King's talisman. Chapter 205. This grand occasion of thousands of demons controlling the flood was completed under the witness of countless commoners. The flood that used to claim human lives was completely blocked. Not a single drop of water leaked out. There were no hillmen, no houses destroyed, and even the dam by the river was not broken. For the entire night, Chu Xiang floated in the air like an immortal descending to the mortal world, leading a group of great demons to resist the raging flood. As time passed, the flood gradually weakened. The flood that poured down from the mountaintop also became gentle after hitting countless boulders and trees. It was no longer aggressive. This disaster was over. Everyone in and out of the city did not close their eyes. They all leaned against the window to see the situation outside. They did not even dare to move their numb bodies, afraid that they might lose their lives. When Chu Xiang finally stopped and looked up at the sky above the Fangqing, everyone cheered excitedly. "Victory! We've won! The flood is gone, it's gone!" Everyone pulled the patrolling demons and asked, "Is it all right? Did he manage to pull through? The flood has receded, right?" Yes. It's all right, it's all right." The demons were also very excited. This was also their battle, their victory over the disaster. The commoners ran out of their houses and breathed in the fresh air after the rain. Some rolled on the ground, hugging the soil that was not washed away by the flood. Some hugged their families and cried loudly, crying tears of joy for the new life after the disaster. Some wept as they thanked one demon after another. Cries and laughter filled the disaster area that had suffered for a long time. They no longer had any superfluous thoughts about this matter. They only knew that it was Chu Xiang who led the demons to save them and gave them real hope. All the demons here were their great benefactors. The children were the first to shout, "Immortal Majesty! Immortal Majesty is a great benefactor! Immortal Majesty is a great benefactor!" Soon countless men, women, old and young followed and shouted. They all knelt on the ground, expressing their most sincere gratitude to Chu Xiang in the air. The sound of gratitude was like a tsunami, resounding through this area. Suddenly, a beam of golden light descended, heading straight for Chu Xiang. Everyone was stunned by this scene, and the fairies all widened their eyes. The golden light of morality. It's the golden light of morality. Chu Xiang raised her head and squinted at the dazzling golden light. Then she felt the warm golden light enveloping her. Not only her, but all the fairies who were present to help with the disaster relief were also affected. After the golden light fell on Chu Xiang, it scattered and shot towards each of the fairies. Whether it was more or less was related to their contributions. The golden light of virtue was like a perfect tonic for cultivators. No matter what kind of injury they had suffered, no matter how difficult it was to heal, it could be cured by the golden light of virtue. If there were no injuries that required treatment, the golden light of virtue would become cultivation. Furthermore, it would be stored in the body of the demon as a unique golden spiritual power. It would directly increase the strength of the demon and make the mind clearer and smarter. Of course, the more the better. As the planner and executor of the flood control plan, Chu Xiang received more golden lights than all the other spirit creatures combined. She closed her eyes and sat cross-legged in the golden light. She took the snow lotus pill and used the power of the golden light to break through the bottleneck of her cultivation and become the leader of all the spirit creatures. The tribulation cloud appeared with the sound of thunder. The people who were frightened by the storm and flood all changed their expressions. They all got up and ran into their houses shouting, "The disaster is here again." The fairies immediately ran away and explained to the people, "This is not a disaster. Sister Chu is going through a tribulation. Hey, the lightning tribulation is so strong. How many levels has Sister Chu broken through? Is she going to become an immortal?" Immortal? Isn't the fairy a spirit creature? Is she going to become an immortal? The people were confused and couldn't help but ask. A fairy said, "Can't a spirit creature become an immortal? Then what's the point of cultivating? No matter if you are a human, a spirit creature, a devil, or a ghost, you can become an immortal if you cultivate well. Those in the Yama Palace are immortals too. This way, you can become an immortal." These words seemed to have opened a new door for the people, raising their understanding of demons and ghosts to a higher level. Of course, those who could become immortals couldn't be evil people, so these demons and ghosts really shouldn't be ostracized by humans. They were no different from humans, and they were even more powerful than mortals. Chu Xiang blocked out all their discussions and focused on dealing with the lightning tribulation. Bai Yi flew to the opposite side of her to support her, just in case. She was ready to rush up and block the lightning tribulation for her, if she couldn't take it anymore. Bai Yu also flew to the other side worriedly. Then, a few great spirit creatures who had completely submitted to Chu Xiang also flew to different directions to protect Chu Xiang. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. The lightning tribulation came fiercely. Chu Xiang suddenly opened her eyes and hit her palms upward, colliding with the huge lightning. The palm power and the huge lightning dissipated, and then the second huge lightning struck down. Chu Xiang spun and rushed up to meet the huge lightning. She used spiritual power to form a huge golden axe and fiercely chopped at the huge lightning. The golden spiritual power brought by the golden light of virtue helped her a lot, and the huge power helped her resist the lightning tribulation. Again and again, her delicate body rushed into the huge lightning. Every spirit creature and every person held their breath and didn't dare to blink, afraid that their every move would affect her. They were even more afraid that if they didn't pay attention, they wouldn't be able to see her again. But Chu Xiang never let people down. After the 9 huge lightning strikes, the lightning tribulation was over. All the dark clouds dispersed, and the sky was clear. In the distance, there were the sounds of hundreds of birds chirping in joy, indicating that Chu Xiang had successfully passed the tribulation. Chu Xiang turned around with her hands behind her back and looked at the crowd of spirit creatures and people. Because her spiritual power hadn't dissipated, her eyes were full of colors. She just smiled lightly, but it made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze, and their bodies and minds were relaxed. Some people couldn't help muttering, "How can she be a spirit creature? She's clearly an immortal descending to the mortal world." Of course, Chu Xiang didn't become an immortal, but her cultivation was enough to dominate the spirit creature world. The spirit creatures felt the pressure on her body and were convinced by her kindness and strength. They couldn't help but kneel on the ground. Bai Yi's heart moved, and she immediately knelt on one knee and shouted loudly, "Greetings to the Emperor! Greetings to the Emperor!" The spirit creatures were led by her and immediately shouted in unison, "Greetings to the Emperor! Greetings to the Emperor!" Humans had their emperors, and spirit creatures had their emperors. The spirit creature world had been divided for a long time. Under the impact of the golden light of virtue and unity, the spirit creatures were willing to recognize Chu Xiang as their emperor. It was an impulse that came from his surging emotions, and he was truly willing to submit. They couldn't find any fault with Chu Xiang. Every spirit creature was better than Chu Xiang, so they were all willing to submit. They were willing to let Chu Xiang unify the spirit creature world and establish a new order in the spirit creature world. The citizens were moved by the spirit creatures, as if they were witnessing the birth of a spirit creature emperor. It was as if they were hoping that this spirit creature would become an immortal in the future. This inexplicable sense of participation made them all have a strong sense of recognition towards Chu Xiang. At the same time, it also gave them a great blessing. Chu Xiang had only come to control the flood and change the way humans viewed spirit creatures. She never thought that she would gain even more unifying the spirit creature world and gaining the recognition of the citizens. Unexpected surprises always made people happy. Chu Xiang smiled, and her beautiful face dazzled everyone's eyes. She slowly floated to the ground and ordered the spirit creatures to rest for a while to recover their spiritual energy, before continuing with the rest. Now that her words were more authoritative, all the spirit creatures obeyed her orders and left. Their attitudes were even more respectful and well-behaved. No one called her Big Sister Chu anymore. Every spirit creature called her Emperor Chu. The citizens also no longer called her Princess Consort. Instead, they followed the spirit creatures and called her Emperor Chu. Chu Xiang called Bai Yi and Bai Yu back to the palace. When there was no one left, she tapped Bai Yi's nose with a smile. "You smart demon. You really know how to seize the opportunity." Bai Yi tilted her head in a proud manner. "Of course. Big Sister has done so much. How could I not get some benefits?" She excitedly grabbed Chu Xiang's arm. "Big Sister, you've really become a spirit creature emperor. Our Fox clan is really proud. We actually have a spirit creature emperor that can unify the spirit creature world. I'm so happy." Bai Yu looked at Bai Yi and revealed a smile. "Ever since I met you, I've never seen you smile like this before." Bai Yi looked into his eyes and her face suddenly turned red. She said in a somewhat awkward voice, "What? Didn't you call me senior? Then I can't smile in front of the younger generation." Chu Xiang looked at them with a meaningful gaze. There was something going on between these two. It seemed like they had been eating and living together in disaster relief for the past few months, so they had developed a very good relationship. Chu Xiang tactfully said, "Bai Yu has a lot of merit and has benefited a lot from bathing in the golden light of virtue. His cultivation is already higher than yours, so you can't be his senior anymore. Just listen to him obediently." Bai Yu said with a faint smile, "Emperor Chu, please be assured. I will definitely take good care of Yi. AI, who wants you to take care of her? Big Sister, let's go back to our room and rest. Don't mind him." Bai Yi quickly pulled Chu Xiang away, but her red ears betrayed her. She was clearly too embarrassed to be with Bai Yu. Chu Xiang trusted Bai Yu's character very much, so she was not worried at all. Rather, she was a bit happy to see it happen. Seeing Bai Yi walk out of the pain of her previous relationship, she was happy for Bai Yi. Nothing else was important. Stopping the disaster was physically and mentally exhausting work. Even if they were all compensated by the golden light of virtue, they still wanted to have a good rest mentally. At this time, the rescued people fully displayed their hospitality. The officials arranged the most comfortable environment for Chu Xiang, and the people also invited the demons into their homes to rest. Peaceful coexistence was not difficult. As long as they opened their hearts and accepted each other, humans and demons could also get along harmoniously and talk happily. After Chu Xiang finished her work here, she handed over the follow-up reconstruction work to the local officials. The officials also had to have merits. These people were all Li Yufeng's subordinates. Chu Xiang would not let the demons steal their merits. After all, the demons did not need to be promoted. Chu Xiang let the demons who had nothing to do disperse. They could either cultivate or choose what they wanted to do. Then she brought Bai Yi, Bai Yu, and nearly 100 demons back to the capital. Of course, the news of the demon world being unified had spread throughout the cultivation world. The eminent monks and Taoists in the capital also received the news. They also knew that Chu Xiang had led the demons to succeed in controlling the flood, and that she had received the golden light of virtue. The golden light of virtue was something that every cultivator wanted, but had never seen before. Unexpectedly, it fell on a group of demons. Some people were jealous, and some people sighed endlessly. However, what they couldn't do was to stop denouncing Chu Xiang and the demons under her command. These were demons that had received the golden light of morality. No matter who they condemned, they had to have a good reason. In the past, they dared to condemn Chu Xiang when Chu Xiang had saved Rao, but they relied on people's prejudice and fear of demons. Now the demon world helped to block the disaster and protected the people of a city. This invisible sense of security quickly reversed people's prejudice against demons. King Qi and the others no longer had the slightest advantage. King Qi did not understand why Li Yufeng did not argue with him, and only waited for Chu Xiang to come back to discuss. Now he understood. Li Yufeng trusted Chu Xiang. He knew that the day Chu Xiang returned to the capital, he would not be able to touch Chu Xiang anymore. King Qi could not understand why Li Yufeng was so lucky. Since birth, he was raised as the successor by his grandfather, who taught him the way of cultivation and gave him countless treasures, allowing him to enjoy the world freely. And because their father felt that he owed Li Yufeng, even though they had only met a few times, he still gave all his fatherly love to Li Yufeng. He believed every word Li Yufeng said and took the initiative to pave the way for Li Yufeng. Even Li Yufeng's wife was the demon emperor, who had unified the demon world and received the golden light of virtue. This provided endless help for Li Yufeng to seize power. Why did all the good things go to Li Yufeng? Even King Qi, the enemy, thought so, let alone others. Li Yufeng's ability and methods in the imperial court were amazing. The only stain was that he married a demon, who turned out to be a kind demon who was likely to be bestowed the golden light of virtue. What else could they do? Keeping their mouths shut was the best choice. The emperor had not been so happy in several decades. Eating with Li Yufeng and Chu Xiang, he was more and more satisfied. He also did not want to wait until his death to let Li Yufeng ascend the throne. He wanted to personally see his most beloved son sit on the throne. He also wanted to see the demon emperor, who had never given his son a status, except the position of empress. The emperor was worried sick about his son's status. While Li Yufeng was reviewing memorials, he specially looked for Chu Xiang and spoke in a roundabout way for a long time. From his meeting with Li Yufeng's mother to Li Yufeng fighting for the throne, it was all for Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang could hear the pride and helplessness in his voice. After tea and dinner, Chu Xiang sat with him in the courtyard, basking in the sun and chatting. Occasionally, they would play a game of chess. It was quite pleasant. After a few times, Chu Xiang, under the emperor's expectant gaze, smiled and called out the title he wanted to hear the most. Imperial Father. Does this count as a marriage alliance between the human race and the demon race? It just so happens that the disaster has just passed. How about we hold a grand wedding? The emperor was pleasantly surprised. Good. Good. You can do whatever you want. Open my private treasury and make it as grand as you want. Chu Xiang sat casually in the chair and supported her chin with her hand. I married Yufeng and became the empress. The people know me, but Yufeng still has no status in the demon realm. Why don't we go back to the demon realm and hold a wedding and officially make Yufeng my imperial husband? Okay, do what? Imperial husband? After the emperor subconsciously agreed, he felt that something was wrong. But after thinking about it, he felt that it seemed reasonable. His son was the next emperor, but Chu Xiang was also the emperor of the demon realm. This seemed to only be recognized by the demon realm when his son became the imperial husband. Otherwise, Chu Xiang would have nowhere to cry. The more the emperor thought about it, the more he felt that this was double insurance. Without another word, he married his son and even gave his private treasury to Chu Xiang as his son's dowry. Chu Xiang was amused by this interesting old man. When she had nothing to do, she would come and play with him. This made the old emperor happy and his health improved a lot. Li Yufeng was made the crown prince by the emperor. The emperor also clearly stated in the court that he would pass the throne to Li Yufeng as soon as the Ministry of Rites finished preparing for the coronation. With the emperor's personal words, all of the neutral and loyal officials naturally turned to support Li Yufeng. King Qi's faction suffered a massive blow, sinking into a state of panic and anxiety. The imperial concubine's family was the most unwilling. After scheming for decades, they might end up being punished. Prince Qi could still be an idle prince and continue to enjoy glory and wealth. But what about them? They already had a young master of their first wife in prison. If the imperial concubine's family wanted to cause trouble, they naturally had to instigate Prince Qi and the third prince. Prince Qi was unwilling to lose while the third prince was unable to remain calm. After some discussion, they decided to seize power and abdicate the throne. Li Yufeng had subdued quite a few officials, but the army had yet to intervene. Unlike them, they had been in court for decades and had countless entangled relationships. At this time, they only had a sliver of hope in this aspect, so they could not give up. The two Taoist priests of the monastery had guilty consciences. They had refined pills that harmed the emperor, and supported Prince Qi in doing many things in secret. If Prince Qi did not ascend the throne, they would never be able to rest easy. Moreover, they belonged to Prince Qi's faction. If Prince Qi was defeated, their Taoist monastery would lose its glory. They could only continue to follow Prince Qi. Fortunately, they had roped in a few fellow Taoists who were willing to help them repel the demi-humans. That night, when all was quiet, Prince Qi ordered the city gates to be open to welcome an army. All the common people of the capital were startled awake. They hastily locked their doors and windows and fearfully hid in their rooms, not daring to go out. There were quite a few spies of Li Yufeng and Chu Xiang in the capital. Before Prince Qi could attack the imperial palace, they had received the news and brought people to block Prince Qi at the palace gates. The army that supported Prince Qi was directly blocked by the demi-humans sent by Chu Xiang on the main street. There were not many demi-humans in the capital, but when the demi-humans faced ordinary soldiers, even if it was 1 against 100, the difference was not too great. They did not lose in momentum at all. The two Taoist priests led their disciples and grand disciples, as well as the other masters they had found. They also appeared with great momentum to confront Chu Xiang. Bai Yi and Bai Yu followed behind Chu Xiang on the left and right. When they discovered that the monk who had wronged Bai Yu was also in the opposing camp, they could not help but snort coldly. I knew they were up to no good. Elder sister, are we going to fight? Chu Xiang casually swept her gaze over them. Of course we're going to fight. We'll fight until they submit. Chu Xiang raised her hand and released a signal. The demi-humans all put down what they were doing and immediately rushed to the capital. Chu Xiang waved her hand to Bai Yi. Pass down the order. Protect the innocent people and arrest the rebels. If there is resistance, kill them all. Yes. Bai Yi and Bai Yu wanted to fly away, but the Taoist priest squinted his eyes and flicked his horsetail whisk. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Bai Yi sneered. It's that easy for this great ant to leave. You want to stop me? Bai Yi and Bai Yu attacked the Taoist priest at the same time. The two of them cooperated well, and lured the Taoist priest away in a dozen moves. At the same time, they passed down the order to the demi-humans. Prince Qi stood in front of Li Yufeng in his armor and coldly said, Do you think you've already won? Do you think you can sit back and relax with the help of the demi-humans? You think too highly of me. Li Yufeng clasped his hands behind his back and lightly laughed. Oh, what do you have that's worth me thinking highly of you? In the past, you couldn't even send a message to the disaster area. Did you really think you could hide your rebellion from me? Prince Qi had nearly 100 cultivators and a brave army by his side. He was full of confidence. So what if you can't hide it? You won't be able to escape today. Li Yufeng shook his head. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. Have you forgotten what I do for a living? There aren't only crooked monks and Taoist priests like you. There is also a kind of cultivator called the demon catcher. Li Yufeng clapped his hands, and more than 30 demon catchers with high cultivation walked out of the palace. They were all good friends that Li Yufeng had made over the years. The expression of the monk beside Prince Qi changed. Demon catcher? What are you doing? Are you colluding with these demi-humans? A demon catcher crossed his arms and held a straw in his mouth. He sneered and stepped forward. Is there something wrong with your head? Demon catchers catch demi-humans that cause trouble. Who would be so free as to catch demi-humans? Even the demi-humans know how to save people in the disaster area. What about you guys? You can't even hide from the number one in the sea. It's really not flattering. You guys are helping the evildoers. It's still better than you guys being unable to obtain the golden light of virtue for the rest of your life. These words stabbed into their hearts like a knife. They claimed to be righteous and wanted to suppress the demi-humans here. But the demi-humans had obtained the golden light of virtue. What did they have? They only had the righteousness that they believed to be righteous. Since they didn't agree, they naturally started fighting. The cultivators from both sides started fighting in the blink of an eye. Chu Xiang picked a Taoist priest and a monk with the highest cultivation. She stretched her wrists and said, It's a good opportunity to test out my new magic technique. It's also a good practice target. The other party unhappily accepted the challenge. Don't be too arrogant. Evil can never win over good. Demi-humans shouldn't exist here. Let's see if you still have the backbone to shout later. Chu Xiang smiled and floated into the battlefield. The demi-humans she had summoned arrived one after another. They only needed to transmit a few words to understand the current situation, and quickly join the battle. The army of the demi-humans couldn't be underestimated. Although they had to protect the common people and buildings, they still gradually gained the upper hand. Before King Qi could panic, he discovered that Li Yufeng had disappeared. Immediately afterward, a familiar and loathsome voice came from behind him. Second brother, third brother, aren't you two being too careless? Have you forgotten that I am also a Yao catcher? How did you fall into my hands? The white-bearded and white-browed senior monk of the imperial temple rarely walked out of the temple, and came to the emperor's bedroom in the imperial palace. He stood together with the emperor, who was staring at the night sky outside the window. The emperor said in a deep voice, "Will accepting the demi-humans bring disaster?" The senior monk turned his prayer beads and chanted, "Umitba, bless our dynasty. His Majesty has a good eye and has kept this lucky star for our dynasty." The emperor raised his head and looked at the stars in the sky with the senior monk. He didn't understand the stars, but he could see that there were two stars that were particularly bright tonight. The senior monk had never been willing to reveal too much. But with just these two sentences, he was truly relieved. If he could see the final result of this matter before he left, he would have no more regrets in this life. He only hoped that the country would prosper and the people would be at peace. He hoped that his son and this demi-human emperor's daughter-in-law would always be able to walk hand in hand. Chapter 206. Chu Xiang was gathering the Yao army, and the Xiuzha who couldn't tolerate the Yao were also rushing over to help. The number of people on both sides was increasing. They fought from the palace gates to the city gates, and then from the city gates to the forest on the outskirts, and then gradually to further places. The scene was like moving mountains and filling seas. The war for power gradually became a war between the human Xiao and the Yao. Zhuang Yulong had originally been in the Qi King's camp, but when the two sides started fighting, he quickly found a place to hide. He held his breath and quietly watched the situation. He was a scholar, and a character that no one cared about. He shouldn't participate in this kind of thing. But because he hadn't been put in an important position, the Jiang family was anxious, and used their connections to shove him in. In any case, when they took the throne, he would follow behind them, and it would be considered a merit. Who would have thought that the army and Xiuzha were useless? Chu Xiang had gathered so many Yao. Zhuang Yulong was so scared his face turned white. How would he dare to wander outside? His eyes turned and he suddenly saw Bai Yi. Bai Yi's face was fiendish, and her attacks were vicious. She killed a Taoist in a few moves, and threw the corpse out like a rag doll. The corpse fell right in front of Zhuang Yulong, and the dust it stirred caused him to cough. Bai Yi heard the sound and looked over. Zhuang Yulong immediately froze. Before he could react, he saw Bai Yi had turned back to continue fighting, as if she hadn't seen him at all. He had imagined countless times what it would be like when they met again, but he had never imagined this kind of situation. This made him feel more uncomfortable than Bai Yi's joy or anger. He didn't know why, but he felt that everything had changed. This kind of disregard made him feel like he was worse than an ant on the ground. The thick blood on the corpse caused Zhuang Yulong to cough again. He was afraid of being discovered, and hurriedly hid deeper into the trash basket. The dirty and smelly bamboo basket made it hard for him to breathe, but he didn't dare to move or go out. He only dared to look out through the gaps in the bamboo basket. The fight between the Xiuzha and Yao was too fierce. Broken arms and legs were all things, and some even had their heads smashed in with a palm. He trembled as he watched. His eyes couldn't help but look at Bai Yi. This was the first time he saw Bai Yi's power. He knew how benevolent Lian Chu was for Bai Yi to let him go. If Bai Yi treated him like those Xiuzha, he didn't even dare to think about that kind of ending. When these people went out of the city and were far away from him, he struggled to move his numb limbs and crawled out of the bamboo basket. There were countless corpses nearby. He retched a few times, stood up with a pale face, and staggered back home. A patrolling demon in the city saw him and kindly reminded him, "What are you doing outside? Go home quickly and don't go out." Zhuang Yulong did not dare to raise his head, nor did he dare to respond. He only nodded and hurriedly ran back. He was afraid that if someone recognized him, they would clean him up. After all, Bai Yi was Demon Emperor Chu Xiang's younger sister, and he had ruthlessly hurt Bai Yi's heart. Zhuang Lushi had been waiting at home for a long time and couldn't sit still. When she saw Zhuang Yulong return, she hurriedly rushed over to him and asked, "Son, how is it? Has the Prince of Qi succeeded?" Jiang Shi also ran out with her maidservants. She grabbed Zhuang Yulong and asked anxiously, "Yulong, how is it? Why are you in such a sorry state? What happened? Why did you come back now?" When Zhuang Yulong heard Jiang Shi's voice, his heart was filled with anger. If it weren't for Jiang Shi, how could he abandon Bai Yi and fall into such a state? The fairy doctor believed that Bai Yi was his destined benefactor and would help him become the prime minister. Now that Bai Yi was the next empress's younger sister, wasn't this the right order? It was all Jiang Shi's fault. He threw Jiang Shi away. Jiang Shi fell to the ground, her palm scraped and bleeding. She raised her head in surprise. "Zhuang Yulong, what are you doing?" Zhuang Yulong pointed at her and gritted his teeth. "What am I doing? You poisonous woman, if you didn't do everything possible to marry me, how could I fall into such a state? You ask me why I'm in such a sorry state? I'll tell you, the Prince of Qi will lose. I can still keep my life. It's already a blessing from my ancestors' graves." Jiang Shi was dumbfounded. Her father, brother, and husband all supported the Prince of Qi. Now that the Prince of Qi was defeated, wouldn't she also be finished? Zhuang Lushi was even more anxious. How can this be? Impossible. You have a good life? What good life? Without Bai Yi, I have nothing. Do you know who Bai Yi is? She is Emperor Chu's closest younger sister. Don't forget what we did to her. We are already very lucky to be alive today. What good life do we have? Zhuang Yulong roared angrily, the veins on his neck popping out. Then he left them behind and strode back to his room. He locked himself in and didn't see anyone. Zhuang Lushi was dumbfounded for a long time. She suddenly fell to the ground, slapped her thigh, and wailed. What kind of sin did we commit? How could we drive away the good gambler Wang Jiaxing? We married such a jinx. I should have thought of it earlier. Bai Yi can make money and has family heirlooms. She brought the family to such prosperity. She is a blessed wife. How could we drive her away? Jiang Shi's face alternated between green and white. She stood up with the help of a maidservant and coldly reprimanded. What a pair of mother and son who coveted power. Back then, they coveted my Jiang family's power, and tried every means to curry favor with me, abandoning Bai Yi. Now seeing that Bai Yi is about to gain power, they regret their past and scold her indirectly. Do you think my Jiang family is easy to bully? Even if Prince Qi is defeated, my father will at most be demoted. When I go back and report to my father, let's see how he will deal with you. Zhuang Liushi's life was hanging by a thread. She didn't know when she would be dealt with. Her mind was only filled with fear and regret, as well as resentment towards the Jiang family. She couldn't hate herself and her son. All her hatred was naturally transferred to Jiang Shi in front of her. How could she still listen to her words? Zhuang Lushi saw Jiang Shi using her power to suppress others. She was so angry that she suddenly stood up and grabbed Jiang Shi's hair to beat her. Jiang Shi screamed incessantly. The maidservants scrambled forward to stop the fight, but Zhuang Lushi, who had lost her mind, rode on Jiang Shi's body. No one could pull her away. She slapped Jiang Shi a dozen times and cursed her. You lowly person, don't think this old mother doesn't know. My son and Bai Yi haven't broken off the engagement yet, and you're already in my son's arms. What big sister? Pa, you're clearly worse than the prostitutes in the brothel. If you weren't so lowly, how could my son break off the engagement with Bai Yi? If Bai Yi were my daughter-in-law, today we would be able to safely and steadily wait for promotion and wealth. How could we be waiting for death here? You lowly person. Today I will tear you apart alive. Zhuang Lushi had worked her whole life. How could these girls deal with her? Jiang Shi was restrained and couldn't move. Her face was scratched, and her cries were so mournful that it sounded like she was going to die. Zhuang Yulong wasn't an official, and there weren't many servants in the house. For a moment he couldn't do anything to Zhuang Lushi. Coincidentally, a demon on patrol heard the noise and flew in from the wall. He grabbed Zhuang Liushi's collar and threw her to the side. Only then did they separate. The demon frowned and asked, "What's wrong with you? Why are you fighting?" Jiang Shi's mind was blank. She felt pain all over her body, especially her face. The burning pain made her think that she was dead. Her maidservant was angry. "It's that old woman who went crazy. She doesn't like our sister, and always wants to put on the airs of a mother-in-law. Today she finally found an opportunity to bully our sister. A mother-in-law bullying a daughter-in-law." The demon blinked and nodded. "I've heard this kind of story too many times. You humans are really interesting. When you were a daughter-in-law, you were bullied by your mother-in-law. When you became a mother-in-law, you bullied your daughter-in-law. From generation to generation, I don't know which woman hasn't been abused." Just when the maidservants thought that she was going to deal with Zhuang Lushi, the demon clapped her hands and said uninterestedly, "Chu Emperor said that we demons don't understand the relationship between you humans. Don't meddle in family affairs. If there's anything, report it to the Yamen." Chu Emperor personally ordered that the Yamen can meddle in family affairs. "I'll go first. You can go to the Yamen tomorrow." Because of Bai Yi's identity, Zhuang Lushi was afraid of all the demons. She was afraid that they would find out that she bullied Bai Yi and kill her. When she saw the demon leave, her strong spirit disappeared. Her whole body fell to the ground, and she was so scared that she peed on the spot. The maidservants looked at her with anger and disgust. They hurriedly carried Jiang Shi back to her room. Of course, Zhuang Lushi was locked in the woodshed by them. Although this old lady was annoying, she was still Jiang Shi's mother-in-law. They didn't dare to act rashly, so they could only lock her up first. Jiang Shi was lying on the bed. She wanted to cover her face with her hands, but she was in so much pain that she didn't dare to touch it. She shouted, "Go find a doctor! Go find a doctor! You idiots, I'm in so much pain." The maidservants looked at each other and said awkwardly, "Sister, that demon city is under martial law. Don't find a doctor. We can't even go out the door. If we go out now, we may be arrested as rebels." "I don't care. Do you want me to endure the pain of my wound? Go out and find a doctor for me. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, find a doctor." Jiang Shi was in so much pain that her heart was twitching. She was about to collapse. The maidservants were silent and withdrew from the door. "Sister, it's not that we don't want to go. It's useless to go. If we get caught outside, even if we find a doctor, he won't be able to bring you back. He won't be able to treat you either. If we are mistaken as rebels, the whole family will be implicated. We might even be executed. We really don't dare. Sister, please forgive us. Tomorrow we will definitely invite a doctor back." They didn't dare to see Jiang Shi and quickly closed the door. No matter how Jiang Shi shouted, they didn't go in again. Jiang Shi had always been harsh. When the maidservants were disobedient, she naturally scolded them. Her energetic appearance made the maidservants feel relieved. It was just some superficial wounds. It didn't matter if they came a little later. They couldn't lose their lives for this. Because of Jiang Shi's curses, none of them dared to go in. Naturally, no one used the medicine at home to apply medicine for Jiang Shi. As a result, the wound that might have had a chance to recover was left with a face full of scars. Zhuang Yulong was drinking in his room. He was so drunk that he didn't come out even when he heard the noise. He didn't know what kind of situation his wife and mother were in. Ever since they found out that he and Jiang Shi were only fated to be married in the temple, the two women had completely fallen out with each other. They quarreled on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. The Jiang family had expressed their dissatisfaction with him several times. However, his fate had changed from being the prime minister to being so ordinary. How could he be in the mood to deal with the Jiang family? Even if he wanted to accept reality, wouldn't he need time to adjust? But he hadn't expected that before he could adjust, something as big as seizing power would happen. Prince Qi had fallen. What good fruit could the Jiang family eat? He didn't need to curry favor with the Jiang family now. It was good enough that he could keep the head on his neck. Bai Yi didn't hesitate to kill him. Scenes constantly flashed in front of his eyes. The people that Bai Yi killed always turned into his own face in his days. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. He could only drink cup after cup, hoping that he would be drunk until he lost consciousness. Then he wouldn't have to be afraid of Bai Yi coming to kill him. He recalled Bai Yi's words before she left. Bai Yi, he had saved her. They were even. In the future, they would go their separate ways. He kept recalling, as if he could be sure that Bai Yi really didn't hate him and wouldn't come to him for revenge. But Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng were not soft-hearted people. In the past few months, they had dealt with countless court officials. The families of those court officials had also suffered. He had never seen Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng hesitate. The two of them were extremely protective. Bai Yi was so important to them. Even if Bai Yi didn't care, would they let him go? The more Zhuang Yulong thought about it, the more afraid he became. He had scared himself quite a bit. But other than seeing him on the battlefield, Bai Yi didn't think about him at all. Some people would be heartbroken and feel unforgettable pain for the rest of their lives. Some people would cherish themselves. Since you don't care, I'll give up. Bai Yi followed Chu Xiang. Of course, she couldn't learn to feel pain for the rest of her life. What she learned was to let go of the past and completely cut off her feelings. So Bai Yi didn't have any thoughts about Zhuang Yulong at all. Whether it was love or hate, there was none. She looked at him like she was looking at an ant on the ground, like she was looking at grass, flowers, and birds. She didn't care and didn't care at all. The favor between them had been repaid. Everything had been cut off. Of course, they would go their separate ways. It was a pity that Zhuang Yulong didn't know, so he could only continue to be afraid. This war for power lasted for 3 whole nights. The Xiuzhe who participated in the war were those who didn't tolerate the different races. In terms of numbers, they were fewer than the Yao who participated. Even if the Yao were distracted to protect the common people, in the end, the Yao still won. Li Yufeng personally killed the 2 Taoists who supported Qi Wang. In front of all the captured Xiuzhe, he destroyed their souls. Their martial brothers had high cultivation, but they didn't walk the right path. Instead, they helped Qi Wang to kill the emperor for power and glory. They were the people Li Yufeng couldn't tolerate the most. At the same time, he also killed the chicken to warn the monkey. He suppressed the crowd of Xiuzhe, so that no one would dare to rebel against the decree and cause trouble. Chu Xiang ordered the Yao to disperse the Xiuzhe and repair the buildings that were destroyed during the war. Of course, the money was paid by the Xiuzhe. This time they didn't get any benefits. They even suffered a double loss. The word miserable couldn't describe it. On the other hand, Chu Xiang and her Yao army were in the limelight once again. If it wasn't for Chu Xiang gathering the Yao army to help Li Yufeng repel the rebels, their emperor would have changed. How could they have a peaceful life? During the war, when all the Yao saw the common people in danger, they would send them to a safe place. They also protected their houses and equipment, and led the rebels out of the city. It was these Yao who protected them. Compared to those unreasonable Xiuzhe and that strange army, it was these Yao who gave them an absolute sense of security. They didn't let them suffer any losses. Their good impression of the Yao directly rose to an unattainable height. They held Chu Xiang in high esteem. In fact, the reason why the war was so big was more or less due to Chu Xiang gathering the Yao spirits. If she didn't call so many Yao spirits, why would those Xiuzhe come? The struggle for power in the imperial family was mainly a struggle between people. At most, those 2 Taoists didn't have eyes and insisted on helping Qi Wang cause trouble. However, these common people didn't know. Chu Xiang also wouldn't take the initiative to explain. Now that everyone was happy, they were all her people. She would protect them and send them the country to prosperity and peace. Li Yufeng brought Qi Wang, the 3rd prince, and the imperial concubine, who he had captured long ago, to the emperor for him to deal with. The imperial concubine cried and complained about their many years of affection. She crawled in front of the emperor and grabbed his clothes to plead. This concubine has served the emperor for many years. Even if I know that the emperor has no feelings for this concubine, I have never complained. Even when the emperor no longer came to see this concubine after the birth of the 3rd prince, This concubine didn't say anything. This concubine is sincere to the emperor. Your Majesty, the second prince was just confused for a moment. He must have been bewitched by that evil Taoist. They must have some evil magic to confuse our son. Your Majesty, please forgive us this time. In the future, this concubine will eat vegetarian and pray to Buddha every day. Let the second prince and the third prince wholeheartedly assist Xiaoya Wang. Your Majesty. The emperor raised his hand. Steward Li immediately ordered people to drag the imperial concubine back to her original position. The imperial concubine was startled. She raised her head and met the emperor's cold gaze. She immediately shut her mouth, and the uneasiness in her heart spread. The third prince couldn't hold back and cried, "Imperial father, this has nothing to do with this son. Don't you know me? I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I did whatever second brother told me to do. Moreover, I didn't do anything. I just followed him here. Imperial father, don't blame me." Qi Wang gritted his teeth and coldly glanced at the third prince. "Third brother, now you want to draw a clear line between us?" It was fine if it was someone else, but the third prince was his biological brother whom he had protected for so many years. The third prince angrily said, "We have always been on different sides. Don't you always ask me to leave whenever you have something to discuss with those two white-haired Taoists? When have you ever told me something important? You look down on me. Why do you want to drag me down when something happens? Are you my older brother?" Qi Wang sneered. "If I didn't treat you as a brother, would you be able to be so carefree all these years? You just want to raise me into a cripple. You're afraid that I will fight with you." How could the third prince have any scruples at this time? He spoke the words that were hidden in the deepest part of his heart. Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng sat beside the emperor and watched them bite each other. It was quite like an entertainment program after work. Chu Xiang glanced at the emperor. The emperor was expressionless. She couldn't guess the emperor's mood at this moment. He must not be feeling well, right? She opened her mouth and said, "Imperial father, if you don't want to see them, go and rest first. Yufeng and I will take care of it." The imperial concubine was anxious. If they were to take care of it, how could they survive? Only the emperor would care about their old friendship. She hurriedly said, Your Majesty, this concubine has served you for so many years. Even if there is no merit, there is still hard work. You can't listen to her. I beg you for the sake of our past friendship, just enough," the emperor coldly said. His voice was not loud, but it had the majesty of a son. Xiang is Zhen's eldest daughter-in-law and the future mother of the nation. How can she be an outsider? But you guys, The emperor glanced at Chief Steward Li. Chief Steward Li understood, and walked in front of the imperial concubine and her son. He took out a book that was densely packed with records. It seemed to be quite old and well preserved. He was like an emotionless machine, reading out the words in the book one by one. The imperial concubine who was still holding hope gradually froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She looked at the book as if she was looking at a demon beast. It was clearly not winter yet, but her teeth were chattering. She was shivering and kneeling on the ground. Her whole body was cold. Qi Wang and the third prince who were still in the dark gradually changed their expressions. The more they listened to Li Yufeng reading out the records, the uglier their expressions became. It turned out that the book recorded all their rebellious deeds. Why did the emperor no longer visit the imperial concubine after the third prince was born? It was because the third prince was not his son at all. It was the imperial concubine and a guard who gave birth to him. Of course, that guard had died long ago. The emperor did not mention this matter because he wanted to let Qi Wang smoothly become the next emperor. These years, the imperial concubine could not see the emperor or other men. Being in the imperial concubine was no different from being in the cold palace. It was better to be dead. If she did not want to wait until the emperor died and become the empress dowager, she would have died long ago. It was also because of this that she thought of giving the emperor a poisonous pill. Of course, the matter of the pill was very secretive. It was only after Chu Xiang discovered it that the emperor ordered Li Yufeng to add to the book. The messy things that Qi Wang and the third prince did in private were also recorded, including their wives' clans and the imperial concubines' family. It was only after nearly a year that the emperor felt powerless and wanted to gradually delegate power that he did not keep a close eye on them. He did not expect that in just a year, Qi Huang would set up a trap to harm Li Yufeng and conceal the situation of the disaster. If Li Yufeng had not returned, the emperor did not dare to imagine what would have happened. The emperor had Li Yufeng finish reading, as if he was cutting off all their old feelings. He did not want to say too much. He looked at the imperial concubine and indifferently said, "Bestow the white silk." Then he looked at the Qi Huang and the third prince who were chatting foolishly. "You two have deep brotherly love. Go guard the imperial mausoleum together." There was nothing in the imperial mausoleum. The people guarding it would be even more miserable than the villagers. They lived like princes, so how could they live such a life? How could they have deep brotherly love? They had just been at each other's throats. If they were really locked together, wouldn't they have nowhere to vent their resentment and anger on each other? The emperor was letting them kill each other. The imperial concubine screamed and retreated. "No, your majesty, this concubine is innocent. They are your sons. You can't do this to us." "Your majesty." Li Yufeng waved his hand and someone immediately covered the imperial concubine's mouth. They brought the white silk and strangled her to death in front of Qi Huang and the third prince. Qi Huang and the third prince struggled with all their might, but they could not break free. They could only watch as their mother died in front of them. They were so agitated that their eyes turned red. The emperor did not want to listen to their pleas for mercy or rebellious words. He had taught them what he should have taught and disciplined them. It was his fault that he did not teach his children well. However, he had sincerely wanted to pass the throne to his second son. His second son had even tacitly allowed him to take the poisonous pill. No one could tolerate such an unfilial son. He would just let these two half-brothers reflect on themselves in the imperial mausoleum. If they could reconcile and live a good life, it would be their good fortune. If they could not calm down and insisted on perishing together, then let them be. The emperor ordered people to take them away. Li Yufeng did not give them a chance to make a sound. In this aspect, Li Yufeng had always been very satisfactory. The reason why Li Yufeng and Chu Xiang had allowed them to jump around until today was to find out all their supporters and completely eradicate their power. When the room quieted down, Li Yufeng presented the list of Qi Huang's accomplices to the emperor. However, the emperor did not even look at it. He just smiled and waved his hand. "We are tired. We will leave these things to you. The power to govern the country. It is time to hand it over to you. Put in more effort and don't let us down." Li Yufeng put away the list. "Imperial father, you can rest assured. You will definitely not be disappointed. Before you abdicate, this Sun and Xiang still have a big gift to give you." This made the emperor a little interested. "Oh, what big gift?" He was suddenly surprised and looked at Chu Xiang. "Could it be, you have a son?" The emperor's face changed a few times. He was happy and anxious. This human and demon this." Chu Xiang blinked. "What are you thinking? We have such a long life. If we really have a child, he may be the crown prince for a lifetime. We are not dead yet. Who are we harming?" This is also. The emperor had never thought of this problem. Chu Xiang was already 1,000 years old. The child of a human and demon would definitely not have a long life. Could it be that they would have a son and let him be the crown prince for a lifetime? That would be too deceptive. Li Yufeng knocked on the table. "Imperial father, don't worry about these things. Look at second brother and third brother, these two bastards. Aren't they raised in the palace not that good? It is better to choose a genius outside who is suitable for power and properly train him to pass down our family's empire. Also, how long do you want to pass it down?" The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, each of them said one sentence after another. The emperor was dumbfounded. He thought about it carefully. None of the dynasties had been passed down for too long. If he wanted to pass it down for 1,000 years, then Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng would be able to live that long. They would become more and more skilled and capable on the throne. They would only do better in the future. It seemed that there was really no need to think about the future. If he wanted to pass it down for 10,000 years, this matter was not reliable. Moreover, it was too far away. He might have reincarnated several times. The emperor was old, and his body was not that good. He was annoyed when he thought about these twists and turns. He looked at Chu Xiang and then looked at Li Yufeng. He waved his hand and said, "All right, I will leave everything to you." I don't care. What is this surprise? Your son is unclear. Can you blame me for thinking wrongly? Li Yufeng and Chu Xiang looked at each other and smiled. Li Yufeng clapped his hands and immediately, people carried in a few large bamboo baskets and a large box. Li Yufeng stood up and smiled. Imperial father, compared to the heir, this son believes that these things can really surprise you. Look, these are Xiang'er's potatoes, sweet potatoes, and corn. They have been planted and the yield is quite high. It can definitely solve the hunger and cold of the people. Li Yufeng was also very excited. Anyone would be happy with such a good thing that would benefit the country and the people. Li Yufeng opened the lid of the bamboo basket. The emperor could no longer sit still, and walked over while holding Steward Li's hand. The emperor looked at the unfamiliar things in the basket in disbelief. He picked them up one by one and carefully observed them. These are the new agricultural products with high yield and easy to plant? Yes. Imperial father, this son specially asked the imperial kitchen to make some food for you to see. Li Yufeng ordered people to bring in the food. All kinds of dishes were placed on the table. The emperor was even more surprised. Those ordinary things could actually make so many fragrant dishes. When he tasted them again, the taste was not inferior to other exquisite dishes. The emperor looked at Chu Xiang and couldn't help but say, "Xiang, you are really the lucky star of my dynasty. You are willing to share the demon race's crops with my human race. I thank you on behalf of the people." Chu Xiang smiled. "Imperial father, you are still on the throne. This is your merit. It will certainly let your name go down in history. Consider it a gift from me, your daughter-in-law. Are you happy?" "Happy? Of course I am happy. When I am alive, I can see such a scene. It is as if I can see the prosperity of my dynasty in the future. I am happy." The emperor laughed. The depression in his heart caused by Prince Qi was swept away. He could die without regrets now. Li Yufeng opened the big box again, and showed the emperor the new weapons he made according to Chu Xiang's method. When used on the battlefield, it could definitely greatly improve the power of the army. The emperor was amazed again. He was more at ease with Chu Xiang and completely treated her as one of his own family. The emperor obtained these results during his reign. Of course, it would be counted as his merit in history. But he didn't hide Chu Xiang's role in it at all. He issued an edict to let everyone know what Chu Xiang did for them. The name, Empress Chu, once again resounded throughout the country. Everyone cheered and celebrated as if it was the new year. Chu Xiang and Li Yufeng's merits not only allowed them to obtain benefits, but also allowed them to see endless hope. This was the hope of a prosperous and healthy future. Of course, they were filled with joy. The emperor officially abdicated. Li Yufeng's ascension ceremony and Chu Xiang's empress coronation ceremony were held at the same time. The entire country celebrated and pardoned. Chu Xiang was Li Yufeng's empress in name, but Li Yufeng had specially set up a golden phoenix chair beside the dragon throne in the imperial court for her. The two of them were on equal footing. Everyone had to call Chu Xiang Empress Chu. Some pedantic old scholars disagreed, but Li Yufeng didn't need to say anything. A group of scholars refuted him. Only then did everyone know that before Chu Xiang became famous, she had secretly sponsored many scholars. These students ranged from young children to old men, all of them brimming with talent that was hard to come by. During the exam, there were a group of scholars that Chu Xiang had sponsored who became scholars. Now they were scattered in different places in the imperial court. Their influence had spread out, and they all supported Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang had also built many schools to teach the scholars. Those dogmatic and pedantic ideas could not affect her. Her influence was growing and the outstanding scholars all supported her. It was also at this time that Zhuang Yulong, who was idle at home, suddenly realized that Chu Xiang disdained to personally deal with him. He only needed to nurture enough students, and then he would be able to turn his dazzling brilliance into a dull one. He was not outstanding in this group of scholars, and because he was afraid of Bai Yi's revenge, he lost his job. Now that he thought about it, Chu Xiang did not do anything to him. However, since those scholars worshipped Chu Xiang and had received her kindness, they did not see Zhuang Yulong as someone who had let Chu Xiang down. These scholars who had passed the exam to become scholars and worked in the imperial court were a force to be reckoned with. If they wanted to trip him up, they did not need to do anything. They only needed to keep an eye on him and not let go of any of his mistakes. Zhuang Yulong was unwilling, but he could not find a way out. The head of the Jiang family had retired and returned to his hometown. The prefectural magistrate, because he connived with his son's involvement in the Prince of Qi's rebellion, had been removed from his official position. How could he, the son-in-law of the Jiang family, recover after losing his job? Even now he was relying on Madame Jiang's dowry. However, Madame Jiang had been tossing and turning because she wanted to live a good life. How could she be willing to fall into this situation? Moreover, Zhuang Lushi had disfigured her. She could not even remarry and was not willing to think about the mother and son. Madame Jiang wanted revenge. Relying on the fact that she had money and could hire a few servants, she stared at Zhuang Lushi and tortured her to death. Zhuang Yulong did not understand the internal affairs of the inner residence. In the past, he only thought that the eldest sister had the temperament and grace that Bai Yi lacked. However, he did not know that the eldest sister had the sinister methods that Bai Yi did not have. As a result, until Zhuang Lushi died, he did not know that Madame Jiang had done something. His appearance made Madame Jiang look down on him even more. So what if he was talented? He did not understand the affairs of the world. Anyone could deceive him. If he really became an official, he would not be able to do anything. Zhuang Liushi's position as prime minister was truly laughable. Perhaps the position of prime minister was an empty title that relied on Bai Yi's connections. Madame Jiang had let these words slip during the quarrel. She might as well have said more and directly peeled off Zhuang Yulong's face and stepped on it. Zhuang Yulong could not bear the humiliation, and angrily ran out of the house. Somehow, he ran to the courtyard that Lin Chu and Li Yufeng and Chu Xiang had rented. He looked at the courtyard for a long time and slowly walked over. He heard Bai Yi's laughter. He looked in the direction of the laughter, and saw Bai Yi and the fairy doctor walking out of the alley. He didn't know what the fairy doctor said, but Bai Yi couldn't stop laughing. He had never seen her like this before. Bai Yi noticed Zhuang Yulong first and looked over. Bai Yi also looked over. Zhuang Yulong immediately felt his hands and feet stiffen. He did not know what to do. Bai Yi pulled Bai Yi to leave. Her expression was normal, as if he was an unrelated stranger. Zhuang Yulong could not help but call out to her. "Yu." Bai Yi knew what he wanted to ask. He turned and said, "At that time, it was true that I read your fortune. It was also true that I advised you to cherish it. If you do not know how to cherish such a treasure, there will be others who will treat her like a pearl. If you still do not repent, you will not have good days for the rest of your life." Bai Yi blushed. "How is it like a pearl? You are too good at praising yourself." She turned to look at Zhuang Yulong. The smile on her face did not fade. "Young Master Zhuang, I still have to thank you for letting me understand many things. I see that you seem to be very afraid of me. Don't worry. Although I am a Yao, I know right and wrong. You saved me, and I have repaid you. The karma between us has already been broken. For the sake of our past friendship, I will advise you not to waste the snow lotus pill. Use your brain to think about how to live in the future. Don't think about relying on others." Bai Yi only said a few words. She did not care if Zhuang Yulong listened, or if he had anything else to say. She turned and pulled Bai Yi away. She still had to go out of the city to supervise the construction of the Yao Emperor's palace. When the palace was finished, she would hold the conferring ceremony of the Yao race and officially take Li Yufeng back. At the same time, she and Bai Yi would get married. There were many things to do. She did not have time to waste here. Zhuang Yulong did have a lot to say. He even regretted it, but he did not have the chance to say it. The look Bai Yi gave him before leaving made him feel like he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. He could die at any time. He suddenly remembered that this famous immortal doctor was the snake Yao who had done a great job in controlling the flood. Now that Bai Yi was going to become Bai Yi's husband, he would not be allowed to get involved. Zhuang Yulong's sense of superiority that he had once used the snow lotus pill to show off in front of the students was completely destroyed. Whether it was Li Yufeng or Bai Yu, they were all much stronger than him. Even the students that Chu Xiang sponsored were not necessarily worse than him. They had not taken the snow lotus pill yet. He was not extraordinary. He was nothing. Bai Yi's words of advice were good, but he could not recover from the setback. He relied on his mother, grew up relying on Bai Yi, and after marriage he relied on the Jiang family. He had never done anything by himself. Now he could not raise his spirits. Without spiritual energy he could not even compose poems. After Madame Jiang chased him out of the house, he gradually became a beggar. The life of a prime minister could only appear in his dreams. When the demon palace was built, the people and the demons welcomed a national celebration. They witnessed the demon emperor's ascension and Li Yufeng's conferring ceremony. Before the emperor left, he saw Chu Xiang give his son a title. He died with a smile and no longer had any worries. The unification of the demon race gave the demons a set of rules. Once an evil demon appeared, there was no need for the demon hunters to do anything. The general of the demon race would personally deal with the scum of the demon race. There were often demon hunters who complained to Li Yufeng that their jobs were stolen, but it was just a joke. Everyone liked this more and more peaceful world. Chu Xiang had a lot of knowledge that was advanced in this world. She was good at it, and she was not good at it. It had a great effect on this era. She and Li Yufeng were very capable. Step by step, they realized everyone's wish for peace and prosperity. Even the territory of the country was constantly expanding, taking in more people. Every time there was a disaster, Chu Xiang would still send the demons to the front to provide relief. When there was a huge disaster, she would also personally take action. Only then would the people remember that she was not a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. She was actually a demon. There was once when Chu Xiang was exhausted and revealed her true form. The fiery red fox floated in the air and performed a ritual. Someone exclaimed, "Empress Chu is really a vixen." Someone immediately scolded, "What vixen? You sound like you're scolding someone." Even if Empress Chu is a vixen, she is still the strongest vixen. She is an imperial vixen who has been conferred the title of emperor. Chu Xiang landed on the ground after finishing her ritual. She just happened to hear this and couldn't help but smile. At first, she only thought that being a demon empress was quite fun. She didn't expect to get such a high evaluation in the end. Li Yufeng, who was accompanying her, smiled and said, "Let's go. The strongest vixen empress. Are you willing to patrol this great land with your husband?" "Of course. After all, this is the land that we carved with our own hands." Chu Xiang took Li Yufeng's outstretched hand and smiled as they flew into the distance. They had already handed the throne to the heir they had cultivated. After ruling for so many years, it was time for them to walk around and see what the land they ruled was like. Bai Yi watched as Chu Xiang and the others left. She smiled at Bai Yu. "Let's go. The two of them are going to play. We can't leave. We have to assist the new emperor." "Okay." Bai Yu's heart was for the common people. He was naturally very willing to accompany her. As long as he was with Bai Yi, he was willing to do anything. At this time, a female voice sounded from not far away. It was slightly awkward and shy. Just now that scholar saved me. How should I repay him?" "Senior, to repay a debt of gratitude, I should devote myself to him." Bai Yi walked over. Looking at the rabbit demon, she seemed to see herself in the past. She smiled and rubbed the rabbit demon's head. Repaying a debt of gratitude is to help the benefactor fulfill his wish without violating the rules and morals. This way he will be happy. Devoting oneself to him is just a story passed down from the past. It has nothing to do with repaying a debt of gratitude. "Oh, so it's like this. Then I'll think of a way to repay him." Bai Yi shook her head. "It's not that there can't be marriage, but marriage requires fate. It shouldn't be confused with repaying a debt of gratitude. If you really like each other, what's the harm in becoming husband and wife? Go, let nature take its course. Don't hide it." "Yes, thank you, Sister Bai." Bai Yu smiled. "Now you know how to teach others. Just now you looked like your sister." Did she teach you this? Speaking of Chu Xiang, Bai Yi smiled. Her smile contained endless warmth. Everything I know was taught by my sister. Naturally, I'm becoming more and more like my sister. I'm proud of this. Actually, my sister is my greatest benefactor. Repaying a debt of gratitude has nothing to do with devoting myself to her. I just want my sister to be happy and do everything I can for her. I really hope that my sister can be happy forever. No matter where she is, she won't be bothered by worldly affairs. She will. No one can bother her. Bai Yu held Bai Yi's hand. He was never worried about this. Chu Xiang was their queen. No matter where she was, she would always compete with the sun and moon. Chapter 207. Chu Xiang woke up in another world. When she opened her eyes and saw the blurry ceiling, she felt as if a lifetime had passed. She had come to the modern world again. It had been a long time. This action of opening her eyes exhausted all her strength. She slowly closed her eyes and felt that her whole body had lost its senses. She struggled to maintain the last trace of consciousness and used the spiritual power in her soul to nourish this body. This body had lost its vitality. She couldn't make herself better all of a sudden. She could only turn her spiritual power into silk and let it slowly nourish her body like water droplets falling into the sea. Fortunately, it was still useful. It just took a little longer. She heard the noise around her and seemed to hear someone calling her name. Then she was pushed into the emergency room. Quick! The patient has acute alcohol poisoning and respiratory failure. Prepare for gastric lavage and intramuscular injection. Monitor the ECG and blood pressure. Chu Xiang knew that someone was trying to save her. She also tried her best to use her spiritual power to dissolve the alcohol in her body. Her consciousness was very muddled. After a long time, she finally felt that her breathing was normal. She also heard the doctor's relieved voice. Jinger, keep an eye on my situation. If anything goes wrong, wake me up immediately. She told the heaven and earth mirror. Then she relaxed and let herself fall asleep. Her life was saved, but her body and mind were very tired. She needed to rest. The doctor checked Chu Xiang's various physical data again. He told the nurse to take good care of her and walked out of the emergency room tiredly. As soon as he opened the door, he saw a big boy standing outside. Doctor, how is the person inside? The doctor took off his mask and asked, Are you her family member? Oh no. The boy thought for a moment. We're from the same company. We're colleagues. The doctor nodded. Her situation was very critical. Alcohol poisoning is not a problem. Although she's been saved, she still needs to be observed in the hospital. She needs someone to take care of her carefully. If you can contact her family, ask them to come over as soon as possible. She's very weak now. Okay, thank you, doctor. The boy saw that the doctor was very tired and didn't ask any more questions. Then he saw Chu Xiang being pushed out by the nurse. He asked softly, Is she still unconscious? When will she wake up? The nurse thought for a moment. She probably won't wake up tonight. The soonest she'll wake up tomorrow morning. Are you her family member? Then go and settle the hospitalization procedures as soon as possible. It's best to arrange a single ward for her so that she can rest quietly. By the way, her family members have to stay with her. She will be receiving an infusion later. If you find anything wrong with her during the infusion process, you must inform the nurse's station immediately. I'm not her family. Is her phone with her? You can contact her family. The nurse frowned. I tried before, but her phone is locked with a password. It can't be used. The boy took out his phone and searched for the number. How about this? I'll go and settle the hospitalization procedures for her first. She'll stay in a single ward. Then I'll try to contact her family and find someone to take care of her. Okay, then please hurry up. The nurse responded and pushed Chu Xiang to the single ward. The boy found the antelope and dialed the company's number as he walked towards the payment counter. The call was quickly connected, and a gentle and polite voice came through. Hello, Xingchen Entertainment. How can I help you? The boy said. Hello, I saw Chu Xiang's manager fall ill at the hospital. I need to contact her family. Can you find their contact information here? I'm sorry, sir. Contact information can't be disclosed to outsiders, and the customer service department doesn't have the authority to check the employee's emergency contact information. My name is Fang Jinshuan. I went to the company for an interview today. I'm about to sign the contract. You can check it. If you can't contact Chu Xiang's manager, Rao's family, can you find someone familiar with her or her assistant? The doctor says that she needs someone to accompany her now. I'm sorry, sir. We can't disclose this. I can report this news to the supervisor after work tomorrow. If the situation is true, the supervisor will arrange the relevant matters. Is there anything else I can help you with? The customer service's voice was gentle, but it was always business to solve problems. The company's rules were as such, and there were no exceptions. Fang Jinshuan couldn't find anyone to take care of Chu Xiang for a long time. Coincidentally, it was his turn at the payment counter, so he hung up and went through the hospitalization procedures first. After that, he took the list and gave it to the nurse, asking how to invite the caretaker. The nurse had already gotten off work, so it was impossible to invite Rao. She asked Fang Jinshuan to keep an eye on Chu Xiang's situation. Fang Jinshuan looked at the pale Chu Xiang on the hospital bed, ruffled his hair, and let out a long breath. He said to the nurse, I have another patient to take care of. It's been 20 minutes. I have to go back and take a look. I'll come back later. Please help me keep an eye on her. Okay, but you have to come as soon as possible. The nurse's station needs to look after all the patients. Got it. Fang Jinshuan looked at his watch and walked quickly to the pediatrics department. There, a girl was sitting in the castle and watching cartoons obediently. From time to time, she would play with the ocean balls around her. The girl heard footsteps and raised her head. When she saw Fang Jinshuan, she immediately showed a big smile. Uncle, what took you so long? Are you lost? Fang Jinshuan smiled and walked to her. He squatted down and touched her head. Yes, uncle is too stupid. I almost couldn't find you. The girl was unhappy. Uncle is not stupid. Uncle is the smartest. Okay, uncle is not stupid. Fang Jinshuan pinched the girl's face and asked with a smile. Uncle wasn't here just now. Xian, did you listen to the nurse's words? Xian nodded and said seriously. I was very obedient. The nurse even praised me. The nurse next to them smiled and said, This child is really obedient. After you left, she stayed here and watched TV. She didn't make a fuss at all. It just so happens that the medicine is finished. You can take the child back to rest early. Fang Jinshuan thanked the nurse. After the nurse pulled out the needle and left, he picked Xian up. Xian, didn't uncle see a friend who was sick before? Just now, uncle went to ask. The doctor said that she was unconscious and needed someone to take care of her, but uncle couldn't contact her family. Let's stay here and take care of her tonight, okay? Later, you can sleep on the bed. Uncle will accompany you. She has no one to take care of her. She's so pitiful. No one gave her candy for the injection. Uncle, let's go quickly. I have 2 candies. I can give her one. Fang Jinshuan saw the worried expression on the girl's face and couldn't help but smile. Although it was very tiring for him, a fresh graduate, to raise a child, Xian was like a messenger who could always dispel all his fatigue. Fang Jinshuan took Xian back to the ward. Xian's eyes widened as soon as she saw Chu Xiang's pale face. Uncle, is big sister seriously ill? Fang Jinshuan put his index finger to his lips and whispered, This big sister is fine now, but she needs to rest. Let's not disturb her, okay? Xian immediately covered her mouth with her hand and nodded her head like a chicken pecking at rice. Fang Jinshuan put Xian on the ground and quietly opened the bed beside the bed for the caregiver to rest. He asked the nurse to make the bed and let Xian lie under the quilt. Okay, uncle will sit next to you. Sleep well. Good night. Fang Jinshuan patted Xian and whispered, Good night, uncle. Xian also whispered back. Then, she closed her eyes obediently and quickly fell asleep. Fang Jinshuan looked at Chu Xiang, and then looked at the half-empty bag of medicine. He sat on the sofa and took out his phone to go online to pass the time. The heaven and earth mirror floated at Chu Xiang's bedside. Seeing that Fang Zhenxuan didn't do anything bad to Chu Xiang, it didn't wake Chu Xiang up. It even helped Chu Xiang block all the sounds from the outside world, so that Chu Xiang could rest quietly. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Chu Xiang finally finished all the medicine that needed to be transfused. Fang Zhenxuan thanked the nurse and closed the door. He stood in the open space and stretched. He went to the company for an interview and signed a contract for nothing. When he brought Xian to see a doctor at night and took care of Chu Xiang, he felt sore all over. He stretched for a while and lay down on the sofa near Xian to rest. However, there were 2 patients here, so he didn't dare to sleep. He simply browsed Weibo to see who the stars of Xingchen Entertainment were. Who knew that as soon as he opened Weibo, he would see the top trending topic with the word explosive. Hashtag scheming bitch Chu Xiang destroys Mortal Fate's relationship. Hashtag Mortal Fate was the name of the couple of film emperor Chen Lifeng and film empress Zhou Yuan. 2 days ago, photos of them dating confirmed that their relationship was real. When Fang Zhenxuan was about to leave Xingchen Entertainment after the interview, he happened to see the scene of Chen Lifeng and Chu Xiang falling out. He knew that Chu Xiang didn't destroy their relationship at all. When he saw this trending topic, he subconsciously frowned. He clicked on the trending topic. At the top was a paparazzi's news. According to the news, Chu Xiang had been entangled with Chen Lifeng. It was fine when Chen Lifeng was single, but now that Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan were in love and wanted to announce their relationship, Chu Xiang threatened Chen Lifeng that she wouldn't give him good resources in the future, and asked him to be with her. Chen Lifeng couldn't take it anymore, and had already proposed to the company to change his agent. There were also several other marketing accounts that posted on Weibo. Some said that Chu Xiang had taken a lot of money from Chen Lifeng over the years, and the branded clothes and bags that she usually used were paid for by Chen Lifeng. Some said that Chu Xiang went to see Chen Lifeng late at night several times, but was blocked by Chen Lifeng at the door. Some even posted a few specious photos. Some said that Chu Xiang's character was very bad. She liked to attend messy drinking parties, and had a messy private life. There were various marketing accounts that forwarded all kinds of news. Fang Zhenxuan didn't know where the source came from, and he wasn't interested in reading it one by one. He knew that it wasn't true. Before the interview today, he went to the stairwell to tidy up his appearance. Not long after, Chu Xiang and Chen Lifeng came in, and as soon as they entered, they started arguing fiercely. He was on the upper floor at that time, and opening the door would definitely make a sound. He felt very awkward and didn't move. He just happened to hear the content of their argument. Chu Xiang questioned Chen Lifeng why he wanted to change his agent, and also asked if his relationship with Zhou Yuan was real. At that time, Chen Lifeng coldly told Zhou Yuan that she didn't like Chu Xiang, and asked him to change to a male agent. He also said that his relationship with Zhou Yuan had nothing to do with Chu Xiang, and that there was nothing between him and Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang recounted what she had done for him over the years, as well as their ambiguous interactions and joking in private, and asked him what he thought of her as. Who knew that Chen Lifeng had always regarded Chu Xiang as a business partner. Everything that Chu Xiang did was for her own career, and she took a share of it. They didn't owe each other anything. Chu Xiang pulled Chen Lifeng and didn't let him go. The two entangled and quarreled for almost half an hour. In the end, Chen Lifeng impatiently pushed Chu Xiang away, and left first. Chu Xiang also collected her emotions, and left after crying for a few minutes. From their conversation, Fang Zhenxuan could tell that Chu Xiang liked Chen Lifeng, and Chen Lifeng had been flirting with her. This time, when he found such a good girlfriend like Zhou Yuan, he immediately drew a clear line with Chu Xiang. He even changed his agent directly, because Zhou Yuan was unhappy. He looked at the hospital bed. Chu Xiang was lying there silently. She was so fragile that it seemed like she would stop breathing in the next second. At this time, such a scandal actually broke out on the internet. In the middle of the night, the company's public relations team didn't go to work. By the time they went to work, this matter would have already fermented out of control. The person who leaked the news might have deliberately chosen this time. After the sun rose, the movie king and the agent who was surrounded by scandals The company didn't even need to think about who would be protected. Feng Zhenxuan was a little hesitant about entering the entertainment industry, and he also had some sympathy for Chu Xiang, who he just met today. He didn't sleep all night. He checked whether Xian had a fever or not, and checked whether Chu Xiang's condition was stable. Fortunately, he was young and in good health. After staying up all night, he was still very energetic in the morning. At around 7 o'clock, Chu Xiang woke up from her sleep. When she saw the white ceiling, she was at a loss for a moment. Feng Zhenxuan walked to the bedside and said, "Sister Chu, you're awake? Wait, I'll call the nurse." Chu Xiang turned around and saw a particularly handsome face flash past her eyes. He went out to find the nurse. The heaven and earth mirror moved. "Master, he is your colleague. He took care of you here for a night. This girl is his niece." Chu Xiang blinked and looked at the girl who was still sleeping next to her. She flipped through the original owner's memory, but she had no impression of Feng Zhenxuan. This colleague is quite kind. The nurse was called over by Feng Zhenxuan. She briefly checked several important data of Chu Xiang's body and said, "You are still very weak, but there is no danger. Just take care of yourself. Pay the hospitalization fee for 2 yuan first. When your attending doctor comes to work, he will give you a detailed examination. If you have any questions, you can ask the doctor." "Okay, thank you." Chu Xiang thanked her. When she opened her mouth, her voice was very hoarse. It was very unpleasant to hear, and also very dry. The nurse said to Feng Zhenxuan, "There are paper cups at the water dispenser outside. Go and help her pour a cup of warm water. Remember to eat a light diet. You can have some porridge for breakfast. The supermarket is next to the cafeteria. If you want to buy daily necessities, you can go to the supermarket." "Okay, thank you." Feng Zhenxuan followed the nurse out, and soon came back with a cup of warm water. He helped Chu Xiang sit up and lean against the bed. Chu Xiang drank a few mouthfuls of water. At the same time, she transferred the thin strands of spiritual power to her throat and felt much better. "Thank you. My name is Chu Xiang. May I ask who you are?" Feng Zhenxuan smiled politely and said, "I am an artist who is going to sign a contract with Xingchen Entertainment. My name is Feng Zhenxuan. Yesterday, I happened to see you enter the emergency room in the hospital, so I asked the doctor about the situation. The doctor said that you are not in any danger. You just need a family member to take care of you for a few days. However, your phone has a password lock and can't be opened. I called the company, but the company management is very strict and won't disclose any contact information, so I stayed." Feng Zhenxuan explained the matter clearly in a few simple words. Chu Xiang smiled at him. "Thank you. Can you help me give my phone?" "Okay." Feng Zhenxuan went to get the leather bag on the sofa. When he handed it to Chu Xiang, he paused and obviously hesitated. He suddenly remembered that the hot search had been up all night. There must be a lot of people who knew Chu Xiang who sent her messages and called her. Chu Xiang saw all of them as soon as she turned on her phone. Could she withstand this blow when she was so weak? Feng Zhenxuan stealthily turned his hand and put the bag on the chair next to him. "The nurse said you were very weak just now. Why don't I go get some food for you first? Have some porridge, and you'll have the strength to do other things. How about it?" Chu Xiang nodded and smiled. "Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. It's fine." Feng Zhenxuan smiled and breathed a sigh of relief after leaving. Chu Xiang pulled up the quilt and said with a smile, "Seeing such a pleasing face as soon as I wake up in this world really makes me feel good. What happened? Why doesn't he want to give me the phone?" Chu Xiang had lived for tens of thousands of years. What kind of situation hadn't she seen? Feng Zhenxuan's hesitation didn't escape her eyes at all. However, a handsome brother always made people happy to cooperate, so she went along with his wishes. The heaven and earth mirror floated in front of Chu Xiang, and the screen of Feng Zhenxuan's phone as he scrolled through Weibo appeared on the mirror. Chu Xiang calmly looked at the dirty water splashed on her under the trending searches and smiled, as expected of a beautiful person with a kind heart. When she smiled, Xian woke up. When she opened her eyes and saw Chu Xiang, she couldn't help but say, "Big sister, you're awake. You're so beautiful when you smile." Chu Xiang had just praised Feng Zhenxuan's good looks, And then she was praised by Fang Zhenxuan's niece as beautiful. She felt that it was quite fun. She touched Xian's head and asked with a smile. You're also very beautiful and cute. What's your name? My name is Xian. Xian rubbed her eyes and sat up with the quilt. She looked around and didn't find Fang Zhenxuan. She didn't make a fuss and looked at Chu Xiang obediently and asked, Big sister, did you see my uncle? Did he get lost again? Lost? Chu Xiang didn't know what this was about. Was that handsome guy a directionally challenged person? Then how could he get lost when there were signs everywhere in the hospital? She comforted the girl. Your uncle went to the cafeteria to get food and will be back soon. Do you want to go to the bathroom first? It's over there. Chu Xiang pointed to the bathroom, and Xian nodded. She put on her shoes and ran to the bathroom to wash her face. Soon Xian ran out with water dripping from her chin. She found a tissue on the bedside table and wiped her face. Big sister, there's no toothbrush or towel in the bathroom. Your uncle should have gone to buy some. You can brush it later. Chu Xiang looked at her and saw that she was thinner than her actual age, and her skin color was abnormal. She asked, What are you doing in the hospital? Are you sick? Xian nodded and stood by the bed and began to fold the quilt. I had a high fever yesterday, so uncle brought me here for an 4 drip. I'm fine now. All right. Xian suddenly thought of the candy in her pocket. She quickly put down the quilt and took out the candy and handed it to Chu Xiang. Big sister, the injection was very painful, but after eating the candy, I feel sweet and much happier. Uncle gave this to me yesterday. I'll give you one. Chu Xiang took the candy wrapped in colorful paper from her hand and smiled. Thank you, Xian. You're welcome. Uncle and sister were very sick yesterday, and no one was with them. When my uncle went to work, I felt like crying when I was sick. Big sister must be very sad too, right? You'll be fine after eating the candy. Uncle's candy is magical, and you'll be happy after eating one. The girl kept saying uncle and didn't mention her parents at all. Moreover, her uncle went to work, and she was very lonely and sad when she was sick. Her family must be incomplete. Chu Xiang didn't ask. She just said to the girl with a serious face, Okay, I'll eat it later. When I have more candy, I'll give it to Xian. Okay. The girl smiled happily and once again worked hard to fold the quilt. Although it was very laborious for her to fold the quilt, it took her a long time to fold the quilt properly. Fang Zhenxuan came back with breakfast and daily necessities. When he saw Xian sitting there with the quilt folded, he smiled. Xian, you're awake? Good morning. Xian is getting more and more capable. You're amazing. Xian was very happy to be praised. She ran over and hugged Fang Zhenxuan's leg. She raised her head and shouted, Uncle. Fang Zhenxuan carried the hot porridge carefully, afraid that it would burn her. He smiled and slowly moved to the bedside. There's a toothbrush and a towel in the bag. Xian, go wash up first, and then we'll eat breakfast, okay? Okay. Xian obediently took the toiletries and ran to the bathroom. Chu Xiang looked at Fang Zhenxuan, who put the breakfast on the table, and asked, How old is Xian? Fang Zhenxuan replied, 5 years old. Very sensible. It was rare for a 5-year-old child to be so obedient and sensible. Chu Xiang was weak and powerless. Fang Zhenxuan specially bought mouthwash and disposable towels for Chu Xiang. After they finished washing up, they gathered around the bed to eat. Fang Zhenxuan bought 3 bowls of hot porridge and buns for him and Xian. Chu Xiang didn't have much strength. It was fine when she was leaning against the bed, but now that she was sitting upright and holding the spoon to eat the porridge, she felt very tired and had difficulty eating. Fang Zhenxuan noticed and hesitated for a moment. He said hesitantly, How about, I feed you? He was the one who fed Xian before she ate, so he thought of this when he saw Chu Xiang's inconvenience. He felt that it was a bit abrupt when he said it. They weren't familiar with each other. However, Chu Xiang didn't care about this. She didn't have the strength to show off. Wouldn't it be better to have such a handsome boy to feed her? She naturally handed the spoon to Fang Zhenxuan. Seeing this, Fang Zhenxuan put away his thoughts and moved closer to feed Chu Xiang porridge. Xian's round eyes rolled around, and she looked up at them from time to time, as if she was very curious about this scene. Fang Zhenxuan didn't think much of it at first. He was just helping out of kindness. However, after being seen by Xian too many times, he inexplicably felt that this scene was strange. He lowered his eyes and didn't dare to look at Chu Xiang's face. Chu Xiang was amused by their reactions. Of course, she was laughing in her heart. She calmly finished the bowl of porridge and felt that her stomach was warm, and her mood was even better. She first met the original owner of this world before possessing her body. The original owner was very miserable. She was still crying when she left. She had just possessed her body and was in the emergency room, so she was in a bad mood. Now that she woke up and spent the whole morning with this big guy, the unhappiness in her heart was completely dispelled. As for the rumors on the internet about her, she didn't care at all. She was very familiar with the entertainment industry. It wasn't the first time that she was slandered by the entire internet. This little storm was nothing. Fang Zhenxuan saw that Chu Xiang was so weak that she couldn't even eat porridge by herself. He didn't want her to be attacked by the rumors at this time. The crying in the stairwell was still fresh in his memory. He was afraid that Chu Xiang would take things too hard and do something else. However, he had finished eating. What excuse could he find to not give Chu Xiang the phone? Out of battery? Then it would be able to turn on after charging for a while. It was best to divert Chu Xiang's attention, right? Fang Zhenxuan didn't have anything to do at the moment. He thought about it and sat on the bed with Xian in his arms and chatted with Chu Xiang. I don't know much about the entertainment industry. Sister Chu is an agent, so you must know a lot. Can I ask a few questions? Of course, go ahead. Chu Xiang saw his intention. He didn't want the phone at all. Fang Zhenxuan. It's like this. My classmate introduced me to a set of photos for a print magazine. Then, the person in charge there recommended me to Xingchen Entertainment. Xingchen Entertainment is recruiting new artists. The pay is good. If I pass the interview, my income will be higher than if I find other jobs. At this point, he explained, I just graduated, and the salary for the corresponding major is relatively low. I want to take on some jobs that earn money quickly, but I saw the contract with Xingchen Entertainment yesterday and couldn't find the detailed terms. After the training, there will be a job arrangement. I will be given 40% for the first 2 years and 60% for the next 3 years. Is this a normal contract? When I finish the job, how long will it take for me to receive the money? He was looking for a topic to divert Chu Xiang's attention, but these were things he really wanted to know. He didn't know much about the entertainment industry. He only knew that stars made a lot of money. Xian's health wasn't good, and he needed a lot of money. It wasn't enough for him to climb up the ranks step by step from 9 to 5. Now that he met Chu Xiang, this agent, who seemed easy to get along with, he hoped to know more about the actual situation. Chu Xiang thought about Chen Lifeng's contract. He was given 70%, and the company only took 30%. This year, Chen Lifeng won the Best Actor award. If the contract was renewed, it was very likely that Chen Lifeng would be given 80%. There were too many young people who wanted to enter the entertainment industry these days. Entertainment companies didn't lack people at all, and the contracts had become harsh. This kind of contract that only gave 40% for 5 years wasn't the harshest, but it wasn't good either. However, it was indeed for Xian Rao. Chu Xiang spoke the truth. The entertainment industry is a pyramid structure. Those who make money can really make a lot of money, but those at the bottom can't make money. There are countless unknown people who are unknown. You won't get a job just because you signed with an entertainment company. The company needs to see what talents you have, what advantages you have, how much commercial value you have, and then give you a chance to try. If you seize the opportunity and perform well, bring benefits to the company, or let the company see the potential of becoming famous, then you'll get more opportunities. Of course, you'll be able to earn money. She thought about it. Xingchen Entertainment won't delay payment. If there are no problems with the work, you'll receive the money in 1 or 2 taels. She then looked at Fang Zhenxuan from head to toe. Feng Zhenxuan subconsciously sat up straight and looked at her. Chu Xiang smiled and said, "But you don't have to worry. With your face and good figure, it's hard not to become famous. If your acting skills are passable and you can sing a few more songs, you'll be famous for a longer time. It's just that the 40% and 5 years are very restrictive. If you can wait, then wait a few days. When I'm discharged from the hospital and return to the company, I'll help you ask if you can change to a better contract." This was an unexpected surprise for Feng Zhenxuan. He smiled and said, "Then thank you in advance, Sister Chu. I can wait. It's not so urgent for the time being." Then he remembered that Chu Xiang had been criticized by the entire internet. It was uncertain whether she could continue to be an agent. Looking at Chu Xiang's words, she should like this job very much, right? If she lost her job after being discharged from the hospital, would she be sad? Chu Xiang guessed what he was thinking from the subtle changes in his expression. She couldn't help but laugh. She reached out her hand and said, "Please give me my phone. I haven't asked for leave yet. I don't know if the company will call me." Feng Zhenxuan got up to get her bag. "Shouldn't you contact your family first? I'll take Xinxin to the infusion later. It's better to let your family take care of you." Chu Xiang smiled faintly. "My family is gone, and I'm fine now that I'm awake. There's no need to call anyone. Give me the bag." Feng Zhenxuan looked at Chu Xiang. He didn't expect her to be so miserable without a family like him. However, he had no reason to stop her from looking at her phone. He handed the bag over and pursed his lips. "In fact, nothing is important. Your health is the most important thing. Only by taking care of your body can you solve all the problems." Chu Xiang smiled and nodded. She took out her phone. The original owner didn't want to contact anyone when she was sad and drunk, so she muted her phone. As soon as she turned it on, she found that her colleagues, the original owner's best friends, and many people who had a good relationship with the original owner were calling her. The company called her the most, and there were a lot of messages. She opened WeChat and froze for a moment. She glanced at them briefly and replied to them one by one, telling them that she was fine and not to worry. Then she called the company manager. After a few operations, she was a little tired. She didn't want to trouble Feng Zhenxuan, so she put the phone on speaker and put it on the quilt. When the call went through, the manager on the other side said in a bad tone, "Chu Xiang, why didn't you answer the phone? What are you and Chen Lifeng arguing about? How much of the information on the internet is true?" Chu Xiang leaned against the bed. "It's all fake. I've been in the company for so many years. When have I done anything wrong?" The manager was silent for a moment. Chen Lifeng came to the company early in the morning and chose his agent, Liu. He didn't say anything during the company meeting, but 80% of what he said was true. Xingchen Entertainment was one of the 3 giants of the entertainment industry, and it wasn't an unreasonable company. Although they would definitely give up one who couldn't bring them any benefits, they wouldn't make a decision without distinguishing between right and wrong. Now the manager wanted to find out the truth and see who had evidence. The final decision would depend on the situation. "Chu Xiang, I don't have any evidence to prove that Chen Lifeng harmed me, but there's no real evidence on the internet." Although Chen Lifeng is a new best actor, he changed his agent after exposing his relationship. CEO Liang, outsiders will watch the show, while insiders will watch the door. The investors, directors, and producers might have some ideas. It's unknown if Chen Lifeng will have such good resources in the future. The company doesn't need to give up on me for him. CEO Liang said, "The company didn't give up on you, but this matter has to be resolved as soon as possible. The company can't be affected, and Chen Lifeng's commercial value has to be considered. In other words, if it wasn't necessary, Chen Lifeng's commercial value couldn't be damaged. After all, this was also damaging the company's interests." Chu Xiang had run countless companies, so she naturally understood this. She smiled and said, "I don't have any intention of going against him. If he wants to change agents, he can change them. Agents and artists advance and retreat together. If they can't be of one mind, they'll be doomed. I'm not interested in pestering him." "Oh, I heard you argued with him yesterday?" "No, it wasn't that serious. I just wanted to ask him what he thought. There were no signs before. He kept his relationship a secret. When it was exposed as his agent, I was caught off guard and had to clean up the mess for him. He suddenly changed agents. Anyone else would have to ask a few questions. That's all. Chu Xiang paused and said, CEO Liang, there's no need to give up either Chen Lifeng or me. We're both working in the same company. We're not enemies. Although I don't have evidence to prove that the rumors on the internet are fake, I have a way to deal with this matter. I can slowly wash away the stains on me without affecting the company. I wonder if CEO Liang is willing to give me this opportunity. CEO Liang thought for a moment. Come to the company first. It's not that serious. As long as the situation doesn't spread, everything will be fine. Come over and understand the situation. Discuss it with the Public Relations Department. Chu Xiang said regretfully. I might not be able to go over for the time being. I was unhappy yesterday and drank 2 more glasses. I didn't expect to be hospitalized because of alcohol poisoning. I don't even have the strength to raise my phone. But don't worry, CEO Liang. I'll call the Public Relations Department later and see if we can have a voice conference. I'll solve this matter as soon as possible. How could he only drink 2 glasses of alcohol poisoning? Moreover, he was so drunk that he probably wouldn't be as indifferent as she was about Chen Lifeng changing agents. CEO Liang didn't know if Chu Xiang liked Chen Lifeng and was pestering him. However, at this time, Chu Xiang came out openly and promised that it would be solved as soon as possible. It was admirable. She didn't panic in the face of trouble. She seemed like someone who could do things. The situation wasn't too serious, and CEO Liang was willing to give her a chance. Then you should contact the Public Relations Department as soon as possible. Have a good rest. Chu Xiang looked up and saw that Fang Zhenxuan's eyes were shining as he looked at her. She smiled and asked, "What's wrong?" Fang Zhenxuan looked at her and smiled. "Nothing. I just think that when you work, it's great." He thought that she was very handsome and attractive just now, as if her whole body was glowing. However, these words were too abrupt. In the end, only the word great came out. Chu Xiang smiled. That's great? The problem hasn't been solved yet. You didn't want to give me your phone before because you were afraid that I would be sad when I saw these scandals? Fang Zhenxuan didn't expect her to see through him. He scratched his head in embarrassment. Yes. Chu Xiang clicked on the trending searches and looked at the photos of Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan. She smiled and said, "How can that be? I'll only make the person who should pay the price regret leaking this information." Chapter 208. Chu Xiang wanted to contact the various departments in the company to discuss how to deal with the scandal. So Fang Zhenxuan wanted to leave and take Xian to the pediatric infusion. The nurse who came in to give Chu Xiang an infusion heard them and said, "You're going to the pediatric infusion? It's the weekend and there are a lot of people there, and many of them have a cold. I think you should get an injection and come back here. It's quiet and you won't be infected. The girl is still sick, and she'll feel even worse if she catches a cold." Fang Zhenxuan looked at Xian and asked Chu Xiang, "Can I? Will I disturb you?" Chu Xiang smiled and said, "No, it's not a secret. You can also learn how to deal with problems in the circle, so you won't panic in the future." "Okay, thank you." Fang Zhenxuan smiled at her and carried Xian to the pediatric infusion. Chu Xiang also cooperated with the nurse's injection. There was no spiritual energy in this world, so she couldn't cultivate at all. The spiritual energy she used during the rescue was the spiritual energy in her soul, and it would be used up every time. When it was necessary, she wouldn't be stingy with her spiritual energy, but there was no need to consume spiritual energy for an illness that could be cured with injections and medicine. She had already taken back all her spiritual energy, otherwise, how could she feel tired after eating and using her phone? However, she didn't regret that she couldn't cultivate. In her previous life, she was a demon emperor and was tired of cultivation and magic. Now that she came to such a developed society, it was fun to be an ordinary person. She didn't miss her spiritual energy at all, and calmly accepted such a tragic situation. Chu Xiang took advantage of the fact that there was no one in the room, and summoned the heaven and earth mirror to look at herself. Her hair was a little dry and dull, and it was obvious that she didn't have enough qi and blood. Her face was very pale because of her near-death experience, but it could be seen that even when she was healthy, she didn't look good. The skin color was uneven, the dark circles under her eyes were serious, and her skin was not tight or smooth. The 30-year-old original owner had very good facial features, but she didn't care about beauty. She didn't carefully take care of herself, and spent almost all her energy on making Chen Lifeng famous. This kind of devotion for love was quite similar to Bai Yi in the previous life. It was the first time she fell in love with a man. She believed every word of the man, and was willing to give everything she had. The original owner was more miserable than Bai Yi because she didn't have a powerful person like Chu Xiang to guide her. She was hung on this crooked tree for several years without a name. In the end, she was hanged to death. It was really miserable. What made the original owner more pitiful than Bai Yi was that Chen Lifeng was a complete scum. He knew the original owner's feelings, but he didn't agree or respond. He deliberately used the original owner's feelings to play ambiguous with the original owner. It was this kind of misinformation he gave that made the original owner think that they were in love with each other, but because of Chen Lifeng's career, it was temporarily inconvenient to be together. Who would have thought that Chen Lifeng would suddenly fall in love? The original owner's efforts over the years had gone down the drain. Although she was still sad after death, her shock at her death overshadowed her unwillingness and anger. The original owner gave this body to Chu Xiang without any reluctance. She only wanted to reincarnate as soon as possible and forget this life. A person dying was like a lamp going out. At this time, many things weren't important. However, the person in this body was Chu Xiang. Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan had caused her to be blackened by the entire network. They clearly wanted to step on her and cause trouble. She absolutely couldn't agree. How they stepped on her, she would step on them back. There was no other way. Chu Xiang tidied her hair and put away the heaven and earth mirror. She was very fond of beauty. Not only did she like to look at other beauties, she also liked to see herself beautiful. The more beautiful she was, the better. When her body recovered, the first thing she would do was to make herself beautiful. Chu Xiang looked at the things in her space. There were some jewelry and money from various dynasties. There were also some clothes, quilts, mobile phones and other daily necessities. Pills, talismans, and magic weapons had long been used up. When she had just transmigrated in her previous life, she had been seriously injured. When she recovered, she had used up all the good things in her space. In any case, that was a cultivation world. She didn't lack anything. Later, she became a demon emperor. Indeed, she didn't lack anything. She just didn't expect that when she left that world, she wasn't allowed to bring any cultivation things. In order to prevent those things from being too powerful and causing disasters in other planes, she had collected a pile of good things that disappeared the moment she left that world. Now her space was full of ordinary things. There was no spiritual energy in this world. She couldn't refine pills even if she wanted to. That space was now purely equivalent to money. She was now a veritable rich woman. Chu Xiang sighed with emotion. Jinger, life is difficult. I have nothing but money now. Feng Zhenshuan came back holding Xinxin's hand. What he saw was Chu Xiang sighing without any expression. She had been so calm before, fighting for the opportunity with the manager. It was as if she had given up. In fact, she was still feeling very sad, right? He paused for a moment before continuing to walk in. He smiled. Today Xinxin is great. You didn't even cry after the injection. Xinxin looked at Chu Xiang with sparkling eyes. Elder sister, you didn't cry either, right? Yes, elder sister didn't cry either. Come sit on the sofa and watch TV. Chu Xiang smiled at her. Xinxin obediently sat on the sofa and said happily, Elder sister and I are both brave girls. We won't cry in the future. I'm not afraid of injections anymore. Chu Xiang couldn't help but smile when she heard her childish words. Yes, we are both brave girls. She summoned the heaven and earth mirror again. She didn't know how the girl could call her elder sister, in her current state. However, since the girl was so sweet, she decided to nurse the girl's body after she was discharged from the hospital. She remembered that Fang Zhenxuan had paid for her treatment and hospitalization. She opened the WeChat QR code. Add me. I'll transfer the money to you. Fang Zhenxuan added her on WeChat. It's not much money. You don't have to give it to me. You've already helped me a lot by helping me in the company. Otherwise, I might have suffered a big loss if I just barged in. Okay, then I won't be polite with you. We should see each other often in the future. Compared to returning a favor was of a higher level. Chu Xiang didn't insist on giving him money. She looked at Fang Zhenxuan's tall, handsome, and youthful appearance and smiled. Since she saw such a good newcomer as soon as she opened her eyes, wouldn't it be a waste if she didn't take him down? Fang Zhenxuan turned on the TV and found a cartoon for Xinxin to watch. Then he went out to buy some fruits. He sat by the bed and peeled and mashed apples for Chu Xiang and Xinxin. Chu Xiang had a voice conference with several people in charge of public relations and crisis resolution in the company. Chen Lifeng was specially asked to go to the company early in the morning to change his agent. They were afraid that Chu Xiang would cause trouble if she didn't want to. Chu Xiang didn't have any opinions at all. She didn't care at all. Since you've already decided, go through the procedures as soon as possible. Send those that need my signature. To be honest, everyone knows what's going on with the trending topic. Chen Lifeng is our star's best actor. I don't care much about it, but I don't want to continue to have any contact with him. It'll affect my mood. It's also my wish to draw a line between us as soon as possible. No one knew what was going on with the trending topic. After all, how would anyone know about such a private relationship? They only knew that Chu Xiang had always been good to Chen Lifeng, and Chen Lifeng didn't have any problems. As for who liked who pestered who, and who had a messy life, no one knew. However, people were just that strange. They were especially susceptible to hints. With Chu Xiang's words, they subconsciously felt that this matter was very likely caused by Chen Lifeng. Seeing Chen Lifeng so eager to change his agent, and Chu Xiang so stubbornly wanting to terminate the contract, the two of them really had a falling out. The head of the public relations department said, I've called the human resources department and told them to go through with the procedure as soon as possible. However, when this matter will be made public will depend on the timing. The most important thing now is to take down the trending topic. However, Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's fans are very concerned about this matter. Even if it's taken down, it'll still be up there. We have to think of a good solution. The head of the marketing department said, Chen Lifeng has been crowned Best Actor, and his commercial value has greatly increased. For the time being, we can't tell whether the recent exposure of his relationship will be beneficial or harmful to him. Now that this matter has happened between you and him, if it's not handled well, it's very likely that his commercial value will plummet. Chu Xiang, my suggestion is that regardless of whether it's true or not, the company release a statement saying that it's a rumor. As for you, you can take a break to recuperate. You're behind the scenes, so you don't have to care about the netizens. After a few days, this matter will blow over, and you can still go to work as usual. Chu Xiang laughed. If that's the case, my reputation in the industry will definitely be affected. The netizens' impression of me will also be very bad. If anyone follows me in the future, it won't be easy for them to survive in the entertainment industry. Isn't this harming others? If you want me to resign, everyone, although Chen Lifeng is making money for the company, I'm also making money for the company. Chen Lifeng was raised by me single-handedly. Everyone, work hard to help me resolve this crisis and protect my reputation. Won't the next person I make popular also make money for the company? A win-win situation is the best. Of course, it would be best if it was a win-win situation, but Chu Xiang wasn't a top manager. She only had Chen Lifeng and a female artist under her. Because she was too dedicated to Chen Lifeng, the female artist felt that it was unfair and had changed her manager a long time ago. Moreover, she had never become popular. There was nothing to prove Chu Xiang's ability at all. Perhaps Chen Lifeng even felt that he had become popular all because of himself. However, it wasn't good for them to say this out loud, so they just expressed that it was difficult. Chu Xiang felt that she had laid the groundwork enough so that the company wouldn't sacrifice her for Chen Lifeng. Only then did she come up with a solution that she had thought of. Let Chen Lifeng make a statement that the rumors on the internet are false. He and I are just colleagues and friends. Changing managers is a normal change in work. There's no special reason. At the same time, we can show our love. He and Zhou Yuan have finally found each other. I hope everyone is happy. Then, the company will clarify that the rumors are rumors. Whoever spreads rumors will be held legally responsible. As for me, I'll finally express my blessings, and this matter will be over. There's no concrete evidence from the beginning to the end. It's completely possible that the other party is stirring up trouble. Isn't that simple? Clarifying anything in the entertainment industry wasn't simple. After listening to Chu Xiang's words, the PR manager's mouth twitched. His intuition told him that Chen Lifeng wouldn't make such a statement. Sure enough, after he contacted Chen Lifeng, he beat around the bush and refused to make a statement. What he meant was that Chu Xiang really liked him to pester her. If he made a statement this time and exposed any news in the future, the fans would think that he was deceiving the public, which would be very detrimental to his development. Of course, Chu Xiang knew that he wouldn't agree. But if she brought it up, everyone would see how Chen Lifeng didn't care about the company's interests and refused to cooperate, right? Chen Lifeng could clearly cover up this matter easily, but he didn't want to. After all, Chu Xiang was also a companion who had accompanied him from obscurity to A-list Best Actor. Now that the matter had changed from Chu Xiang causing trouble to Chen Lifeng not cooperating, the people in the company subconsciously changed their perception of the second row. This change was very subconscious. They didn't realize that they had been led by Chu Xiang. When they told Chu Xiang that Chen Lifeng refused to make a statement, they thought that Chu Xiang would at least complain or scold him a little. But Chu Xiang was silent for a moment, and didn't mention it again. She thought of another way, which made them more or less think that Chu Xiang was a little pitiful for spending so much effort to clear her name. If Chen Lifeng didn't say anything, wouldn't that mean that he was tacitly admitting to the scandals? This was simply trampling Chu Xiang into the mud. If the scandals were true, then so be it. But looking at Chu Xiang, it didn't seem like it was true. Sympathy was a good thing, and Chu Xiang had profited. She put forward a few more ideas, but some were rejected by the marketing department, some by the public relations department, and some by the publicity department. There were always some reasons that made it impossible for her to clear her name. It seemed very miserable, but the truth was that they didn't know Chu Xiang well. Through Chu Xiang's many ideas, they unexpectedly found that Chu Xiang was a very thoughtful person. She also understood the things that each department paid attention to. She was a very insightful manager. After an hour of the meeting, they gradually believed that Chen Lifeng was made popular by Chu Xiang. She had the ability to do so. Chu Xiang was also tired after talking with them for an hour. She said weakly, "Since there's no good idea, then I won't waste everyone's time. Let's end the meeting first. I'll think about it carefully. I'll disturb everyone again when I think of a way. By the way, I'll make a WeChat group so that we can communicate more easily." They didn't have any objections, so Chu Xiang hung up the communication and made a group of 6 people, naturally establishing a group. Although there were only 5 people in the group, these 5 people belonged to different departments and were responsible for public relations and publicity to solve crises. With such a group, it would be more convenient for her to maintain good relationships in the future. Chu Xiang moved her stiff neck. Feng Zhenxuan, who was feeding Xian apple puree, handed another bowl of puree to Chu Xiang. "Add some nutrition. Your body will recover faster." "Thank you." Chu Xiang took it with a smile. Her expression was relaxed and natural. She had recovered a bit of strength and could eat by herself. Feng Zhenxuan couldn't help but look at her a few times and ask curiously, "Sister Chu, you don't seem to be troubled or worried at all." Chu Xiang smiled. "I know I can solve this problem smoothly. What's there to be troubled about? I've already thought of a way." Feng Zhenxuan was stunned. "But during the meeting just now, didn't you?" "Oh, that." Chu Xiang chuckled. "If I don't seize the opportunity to show myself, how can they believe that Chen Lifeng was made popular by me? There's no evidence for this kind of thing. It's all based on impressions. Now, When they talk to the general manager about the situation, this impression can help me and let the company believe that I'm valuable. I can also make the next artist popular. So you did that on purpose? Feng Zhenxuan nodded thoughtfully. He felt that he had learned something. Chu Xiang ate the puree and looked at him with a smile. You have to be more careful when you enter the entertainment industry. Otherwise, you'll be eaten until there's not even a bone left. Feng Zhenxuan smiled and shook his head. I think it's okay. I've been working everywhere for the past few years, and the people I've met are all kinds of people. I'm not the kind of simple college student you think. He asked again, are you going to wait a while before you solve the problem with them? Chu Xiang opened Weibo and looked. Wait patiently. Wait for Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan to say something. The two of them. Feng Zhenxuan was a little confused. Why would they say something like this? He thought of Chen Lifeng's bad attitude in the stairwell and frowned slightly. They'll do something bad to you, right? They didn't want to help you just now. Is it okay? Chu Xiang smiled meaningfully. I'm not afraid that they'll do something bad to me. I'm just afraid that they'll agree to help me. Since we've fallen out, we have to do it thoroughly. Public opinion is nothing to be afraid of. Today they're on their side, but it doesn't mean that they can win. Who knows, maybe they'll be on my side again. The winner is the one who goes far and does well. Chu Xiang knew that Feng Zhenxuan knew nothing about the entertainment industry. Since she was in a good mood, she decided to say more. So many solutions I proposed just now were rejected. In addition to the good points in each solution, it also made the onlookers think that I don't have a good solution. Chen Lifeng must think that I'm heartbroken. I'm still in the hospital, so I'm less aggressive. Now that I can't do anything even in a meeting, he has the confidence to stand up and say something, thinking that I can't fight back. Feng Zhenxuan understood as soon as he heard it. Anyone who was cautious wouldn't be in a hurry to make a statement. However, if Chen Lifeng mistakenly thought that Chu Xiang was depressed, he could step on her without worry. And this kind of public statement would become a memory on the internet. No matter how much time had passed, people could find out that it was Chen Lifeng who drew the line with Chu Xiang first. If Chu Xiang really had a way to turn the tables, Chen Lifeng would definitely be condemned. However, there was still one thing he didn't understand. Do you have a grudge against Chen Lifeng? It seems that you've always been good to him. Even if he wanted to make his girlfriend happy, he could just peacefully change his manager. Why did he have to hurt you like this? He saw Chu Xiang's puzzled gaze and explained, I'm sorry. I went to Xingchen for an interview yesterday and was preparing in the stairwell. I heard your conversation. Chu Xiang finally understood why the original owner didn't have Feng Zhenxuan's memory, but why Feng Zhenxuan was willing to stay and help her. It turned out that he knew that the original owner was miserable and happened to see the original owner being rescued. He was indeed very kind. Chu Xiang smiled and said, It's okay. If you didn't hear it, you might have thought that the news was true. Chen Lifeng stepped on me at this time mainly to divert attention. Divert attention? Feng Zhenxuan thought of many possibilities, but he didn't think that it would be for this reason. He thought it was related to emotional entanglements. Chu Xiang put down the bowl of apple puree, stretched, and lazily leaned against the headboard to browse Weibo. She explained to him. Chen Lifeng just turned 30 this year. He's handsome and has a lot of female fans. And he just won the Best Actor award this year, which is the time to increase his commercial value. Suddenly having a relationship exposed is very bad for his career. As for Zhou Yuan, she started out as a child star. Although she is also 30 this year, she won the Best Actress award 6 years ago and another 3 years ago. She has good resources and a high national popularity. It's inevitable that Chen Lifeng's female fans are angry, and it's also inevitable that they will scold Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan's fans must also feel that Chen Lifeng is not as good as Zhou Yuan, and that he caused Zhou Yuan to be scolded, so they will help Zhou Yuan fight back. If the fans of the two sides quarrel and expose each other's true and false news, it will have a bad impact on both of them. But now it's different. Their relationship has just been exposed, and the fans haven't had time to tear them apart. Suddenly, it's revealed that I'm trying to ruin their beautiful relationship, and I'm entangled with Chen Lifeng. Chu Xiang looked at Feng Zhenxuan. Seeing that he was listening carefully, she continued. Chen Lifeng's female fans haven't left yet, and they must hate me for pestering him. I don't take care of myself as well as Zhou Yuan, and there are rumors that I have a messy private life, sucking Chen Lifeng's blood to buy famous brands. Every one of these is enough to make the fans hate me. Their CP fans will also hate me. And Zhou Yuan's fans will of course hate me. The mistress. With a common enemy, they can be on the same side. They will tear me apart together, and they will have a friendship of fighting together. Although they will still dislike each other, at least after such a farce, their energy will be almost exhausted. And they won't have the strength to tear each other apart. Maybe some fans will think that it's good for the two of them to be together, and even think that Chen Lifeng is bursting with boyfriend power, and is very responsible for his girlfriend. Maybe they can even attract a new wave of fans. When the exposure of the relationship is over, the impact on them will be minimized. It's a good marketing, and it should be done by Zhou Yuan's team. When Chu Xiang was speaking, Fang Zhenxuan kept looking at her, and he was amazed that she could see through all this without being anxious or impatient. It was also hard to imagine how strong Chu Xiang's heart was to be able to analyze the problem so quickly and calmly after crying and drinking so much that she almost died. She was too outstanding. She was the most outstanding person he had ever met. He didn't understand why Chen Lifeng would treat Chu Xiang like this. Was it worth it to fall out with such a good person like Chu Xiang just to divert attention? He had a premonition that Chen Lifeng would definitely regret it. At the same time, he couldn't help but have an idea in his heart. He wanted such a good agent. After a while, Zhou Yuan posted on Weibo. Zhou Yuan v. Thank you for your concern. Lifeng and I are indeed together. We just started our relationship, and we wanted to be ready to share this joy with everyone, but we didn't expect to be photographed first. What was even more unexpected was that some private matters were also made a joke for everyone. In fact, it's not a big deal. Every outstanding person will have pursuers. Lifeng and I won't worry about such things, so don't worry. Lifeng changed agents in the hope that everyone will have a better future, less trouble, and more time to focus on filming. Everyone, don't make wild guesses. I hope to receive everyone's blessings. She was as gentle as ever, without a single word of criticism, nor did she mention Chu Xiang. However, her words had already hinted that the scandals were true. Changing Chu Xiang was to prevent Chu Xiang from pestering them and delaying their time. And they didn't care or fuss about it. They were very magnanimous. Her fans soon felt sorry for her in the comments section. Yuan is too nice, too gentle, and too magnanimous. She didn't fuss with that woman at all. Yuan has been wronged. That woman is so disgusting. Does she want to sleep with her artists? She was rejected and even threatened with resources. Get out of the entertainment industry. Feng quickly change agents. Although I don't like Feng dating, Zhou Yuan is much better than that agent. Xingchen Entertainment's public relations department saw Zhou Yuan's response and immediately contacted her studio. On her side, only she didn't blame Chu Xiang. She was already giving face to Xingchen by not fuss about it. The public relations department then contacted Chen Lifeng. Chen Lifeng said awkwardly that he didn't expect Zhou Yuan to speak up, but since they were a couple now, it would be a joke if he slapped Zhou Yuan in the face. It would also affect his future resources, so he could only go along with Zhou Yuan. Chen Lifeng had been in private contact with his new agent, Liu. Liu had been an agent for 8 years and groomed an A-list actress and 2 B-list male stars. Although he didn't win any awards, he was good at creating hype and the artists under him were very popular. He had some status in the company and was bold. He didn't report to the company and directly asked Chen Lifeng to post on Weibo. While the company was contacting Chu Xiang, they saw Chen Lifeng's Weibo. Chen Lifeng. It's not necessarily good fate for people to gather together. After being together for so many years, let bygones be bygones. I only hope that everyone will be well in the future. In the future, there's Zhou Yuan and Liu. I hope that everything will go smoothly. It wasn't necessarily good fate. Wasn't it hinting at an ill-fated relationship? Let bygones be bygones. But the scandals were all true, so he didn't care. Chu Xiang looked at a few hot comments. Feng has been pestered for so many years because he's too nice. You can forgive her, but we can't. Chu Xiang, get out of the entertainment industry. Chu Xiang, come out and apologize. The company must give a law. We won't give up until she's fired. Feng Feng only got the Best Actor award this year. It was definitely delayed by Chu Xiang. She's so annoying. Chu Xiang's name flooded the screen again, and the scolding was even fiercer. Zhou Yuan and Chen Lifeng showed generosity and didn't care about it. Instead, it gave birth to a kind of protective mentality, and they must seek justice for them. And just as Chu Xiang speculated, their respective fans temporarily put aside their rejection of Peter and united to point their guns at Chu Xiang, concentrating their firepower. Anyone who faced such malice would probably not be able to stand it. Sometimes, one would be eliminated from the industry if they escaped or slacked off. This idea was indeed thought of by Zhou Yuan's team. It wasn't that there were no other ways, but this was the simplest, and Zhou Yuan really didn't like Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang didn't maintain her looks as well as she did, but Chu Xiang's facial features were very beautiful. Such a woman accompanied Chen Lifeng from obscurity to the podium of the Best Actor award. How could a man not care about her wholeheartedly? Zhou Yuan was afraid that one day Chen Lifeng would be moved by Chu Xiang, so she simply took this opportunity to make them fall out. It would be best if Chu Xiang left their social circle and never met again. Chen Lifeng didn't care about Chu Xiang. As long as it didn't damage his reputation, he was willing to cooperate. Liu didn't want to have an enemy, and of course, he was willing to step on Chu Xiang. In this way, the company was passive. If they released a statement that it was all rumors, wouldn't it be a slap to Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's faces? Damaging Chen Lifeng's commercial value and offending Zhou Yuan was not worth it. However, because Chu Xiang made them feel that she was very capable, they were now a little dissatisfied with this development. What couldn't be solved privately? Why did they have to make it to the hot search and let everyone see a joke? Zhou Yuan didn't care about their company, and Chen Lifeng didn't think about the company. He was really strong. There was also Liu. If he acted first and reported later every time, wouldn't he become an unstable factor? Did he have any respect for the leader? Liu was very good at creating hype. He and Zhou Yuan's team had communicated with each other and had already hired a water army. Now they were creating momentum online, wanting to establish a kind image of Chen Lifeng who repaid evil with kindness. They had been thinking about the easy life for many years and couldn't bear Chu Xiang anymore, so they decided to change managers. Of course, he felt warmth from Zhou Yuan. It was under Chu Xiang's shadow that he naturally fell in love with Zhou Yuan. In this way, the hatred of the girlfriend fans could basically be transferred to Chu Xiang. If it weren't for her, how could Chen Lifeng fall in love with Zhou Yuan? Chen Lifeng was so pitiful and so good. How could they bear to blame him? They also couldn't bear to abandon him. Chu Xiang first set her phone to do no disturbances. She waited until the afternoon to resume communication and received a call from the company. Faced with the concern of the PR manager, her voice became weaker. She said self-deprecatingly, "I'm fine. Who knows if it's a blessing in disguise? At least I got to know one person. It's worth it." Her words also contained hints, but compared to Chen Lifeng's, she clearly thought of so many plans to clear her name, but because the company felt that it would have some impact, she gave up those plans. She was completely thinking for the company and regarded herself as one with the company, hoping to solve it internally. What about Chen Lifeng? He had discussed it with Zhou Yuan and Liu in private. He even posted on Weibo to step on Chu Xiang without the company's knowledge, and made it to the hot search. He didn't take the company seriously at all. Even if both sides were ambiguously hinting that the other was wrong, now they were somewhat biased towards Chu Xiang. They felt that she was more like the real person who didn't cause trouble. If she really pestered and made trouble, wouldn't she have exploded long ago? Would she still be honest and keep quiet until now? Chu Xiang sighed again, as if she was lamenting. "I thought wrongly before. I thought that since we're all in the same company, things would be easy to solve. I forgot about Zhou Yuan. She opened her own studio and has a close relationship with Hong Yao. After Chen Lifeng's contract expires, of course, he will go over to her." The PR manager asked sensitively, Does Chun Lifeng have the intention to terminate his contract with the company? Chu Xiang. I don't know. After all, he was prepared and kept everything from me. Liu might know this better than me. I'm just guessing. If he didn't want to leave, would he need to work with Zhou Yuan to deal with me now? If they got married, they would earn more money in their own studio. Why didn't they leave? Chun Lifeng had just won the Best Actor award and his relationship had just been exposed. The company hadn't thought about the possibility of him terminating his contract. After all, he relied on Star Entertainment to become popular and won the Best Actor award with Star Entertainment's resources. No matter what, he should work hard to rise. However, at this moment, Chu Xiangyi was indeed in a similar situation. Zhou Yuan was 30 years old. Now that she was with Chun Lifeng in such a high-profile manner, they might get married soon. Zhou Yuan's resources were very good. She would definitely earn more with her own studio than with the company. Hong Yao was an entertainment company comparable to Star Entertainment. What reason did Chun Lifeng have to stay? Chun Lifeng not renewing his contract was very likely to happen, and it wasn't something that could be figured out by talking. From this time, Chun Lifeng kept it a secret, making it hard to trust him. Chu Xiang and Chun Lifeng had been together for so many years. Now that Chun Lifeng stepped on her like this, what kind of feelings could he have for the company? After weighing the two, although one had high commercial value, it was very likely that he would leave. Although the other was stepped on, it was still possible to make other artists popular and continue to make money for the company. The best way was to protect both sides and see how they developed in the future. With the company's support, Chu Xiang's matter would be easy to handle. Chu Xiang said to the PR manager, I now have resources for a love variety show. I have a good relationship with the producer, so I can let Chun Lifeng and Zhou Yuan go. The ratings for the first season of this variety show were so high, and the audience has been looking forward to the second season for a long time. It's a good opportunity. The two of them just got together and haven't received the fans' blessings. Isn't it good to be on this variety show and let the fans change their views? If they plan to get married, it's also good to be on this variety show before the wedding as a beautiful commemoration of their love. The PR manager said in surprise, Chu Xiang, are you having a fever? What nonsense are you talking about? You want to give them resources? What for? To make peace? Chu Xiang listened to her unconsciously biased words and laughed. It's not a peace, it's just an exchange. I'll use benefits in exchange for their cooperation and cover up what they said. It's a win-win situation. It's good for everyone. The head of the public relations department felt that Chu Xiang was being a little too accommodating, but from the perspective of the company, she naturally knew that this was the best outcome. It was not good for her to persuade Chu Xiang, so she could only sigh. The company will do its best to help you. In the morning, the company still wanted to know who was right and who was wrong and do a good job of crisis PR. At night, it seemed that everyone had a judgment in their hearts and wanted to protect Chu Xiang. Not to damage Chun Lifeng's commercial value seemed to have become a job, and helping Chu Xiang became a subconscious thought in their hearts. Feng Zhenxuan waited for Chu Xiang to finish her words, and was a little puzzled. I thought you would fight back, but I didn't expect you to want a win-win situation. Won't you be unhappy? Chu Xiang laughed. Who's a win-win situation? That's to fool the company. Although the variety show's ratings are good, it also depends on the relationship between a few couples to attract people. It's a demon mirror that can reflect the sweetness of a couple, but also the hypocrisy of a couple. It's the same even if there's post-production editing. Chun Lifeng and Zhou Yuan are a couple who just fell in love and don't understand each other. They need to get used to each other. And these bumps will appear on TV for everyone to see. I also found a sweet couple for them to compare. Wait and see. They'll fall into a trap if they accept this resource. Besides, I still have a backup plan. Chapter 209. Feng Zhenxuan liked to see Chu Xiang speak so confidently. He couldn't help but laugh and ask, What's your backup plan? Chu Xiang raised her eyebrows slightly and looked at his handsome face. My backup plan is you. How about it? Are you willing to sign a contract with me and be my artist? Feng Zhenxuan felt his heart beat faster when he heard this. He had just thought that he wanted such a good manager. Chu Xiang had invited him. It wasn't that he wasn't confident, but he was indeed a newbie in the entertainment industry. Did Chu Xiang think so highly of him? Feng Zhenxuan nodded as he met Chu Xiang's eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up. Of course I'm willing. Although we just met and don't know each other well, I can tell that you're a very, very good manager. If I can work with you in the entertainment industry, I think I'll be more at ease. Chu Xiang smiled and shook her head. You're not a simple university student? Don't you want to consider such a big thing? I haven't cleared my name yet. If you become my artist, you'll be implicated by me. Don't earn money. You might end up in the cold storage and not be able to do anything else to earn money for 5 years. Feng Zhenxuan pursed his lips. You're underestimating your charm. Anyway, the UIC is really professional and amazing. Chu Xiang subconsciously looked at Xian. What was going on with this uncle and nephew? She didn't even want to look at herself in the mirror, but one of them thought she was pretty and the other thought she was charming? Well, it seemed that her charm couldn't be hidden anymore. There was nowhere to put it. She didn't expect to win over the handsome guy so easily. She said, then let's do it. I'll sign with the company later. You can't go back on your word. I won't. I believe you. Feng Zhenxuan didn't hesitate at all, and gave Chu Xiang a firm answer. Xian suddenly said, Sister, uncle is telling the truth. He's a very suspicious person. He usually nags me to worry about this and that, afraid that I'll be deceived. He must have trusted you a lot to do that. Chu Xiang laughed and said, You rascal, do you understand our great Rao language? Xian nodded. I understand. My ex-uncle called me and told me to find a good manager in the entertainment industry. Sister, aren't you a good manager? Even uncle is better than you. Chu Xiang smiled and patted Xian's head. In Xian's world, her uncle must be very powerful and she admired him a lot. Therefore, if even her uncle praised someone powerful, then that person must be even more powerful. Chu Xiang vaguely understood that Feng Zhenxuan wasn't as simple as she thought. Therefore, the charm in the depths of her soul couldn't be concealed. She was attracted to this handsome guy just by looking at him. Chu Xiang didn't expect Feng Zhenxuan to agree to her request. Now that she suddenly had some new ideas to add to her plan, she said to Feng Zhenxuan, After I terminate my contract with Chen Lifeng, I don't have any other artists. Therefore, I will focus all my energy on you and do my best to make you famous. It will be very hard, and you will have no privacy. You will face all the comments, pursuits, and slander from netizens. You may even receive some abuse involving your family. Without a strong mentality and a tenacious personality, you won't be able to persevere. Are you ready? Feng Zhenxuan glanced at the cute Xian and smiled gently. I'm ready for everything. It doesn't matter how hard or tiring it is. I will fully cooperate with you. I only hope to earn money as soon as possible, the more the better. Chu Xiang understood that if he didn't come out, he wanted to use the best medical conditions to take care of Xian's body. He wanted Xian to live the best life. These weren't a problem for her. She could satisfy him whatever he wanted, so she nodded and promised, Don't worry, you will start work soon. This is a great opportunity for you to appear in the eyes of the public. Do you have Weibo? Feng Zhenxuan took out his phone and opened Weibo for her to see. Chu Xiang browsed through it carefully. Feng Zhenxuan was actually a law student. Before graduation, he was the president of the student union of the top law school in the country. He was a top student. He didn't post many posts on Weibo. They were basically related to school homework or activities. He didn't even take selfies. It was so clean that he didn't need to clean it up. Moreover, Feng Zhenxuan had 50,000 fans on Weibo, and most of them were active fans. Many students in the comment section replied to him. It was obvious that he was very popular in school, and was also the school hunk. Chu Xiang looked up at Feng Zhenxuan. You want to be a lawyer? Feng Zhenxuan nodded. Yes, that was my dream before. However, a bachelor's degree is not enough for this industry. I skipped grades and didn't accumulate enough knowledge. If I went directly to work, my competitiveness would be very low. Besides, lawyers need to gain experience. The salary is not high at the beginning, but the working hours are long. I might have to work after a phone call in the middle of the night. It would be even more difficult to take care of Xion. It's not suitable for me. Chu Xiang asked. Then if you earn enough money in the entertainment industry, do you still want to take the tinfoil and doctorate exams and then become a lawyer? Fang Zhenxuan had been working hard to earn money. He didn't think that he could earn too much money in a short time. He thought about it seriously and shook his head regretfully. I don't think so. I don't know when, but my passion for law has almost disappeared. Sister Chu, don't worry. I know that artists and managers complement each other. If you make me popular, I definitely won't turn around and leave you behind. I'm not worried about that. I'm just asking. Chu Xiang smiled and returned the phone to him. Can your real information be exposed? Can this Weibo account be used directly? Fang Zhenxuan didn't even think about it. Yes, I go to school, work and take care of Xion. I don't have any dark history that can't be exposed. Okay, then I'll do it. Can you help me buy a laptop nearby? There aren't any good shops here. I'll buy the best one that can be bought in a shop. Chu Xiang transferred 50,000 yuan to him. Then, she opened the new 6-character account and asked Chen Lifeng how the discussion was going. Fang Zhenxuan told Xion to watch TV, and went to the nurse's station to say hello. Then, he quickly walked into the elevator to buy a laptop. He wanted to come back quickly to see how Chu Xiang solved the problem. He didn't want to miss any part of this matter. He always felt that this matter might become a classic case of public relations crisis in the future. When Fang Zhenxuan went to buy a laptop, Chu Xiang had already received a reply. Chen Lifeng was a little hesitant, and wanted to think about it. The possibility of him agreeing was higher. Chu Xiang also sent a WeChat message to her assistant, Lin, who often ran around the company with her, asking her to pay attention to the company's movements. Then, she quickly learned that the company had called Chen Lifeng to talk about the contract renewal. Then Mr. Liang's expression didn't look good. At least he didn't look happy. Chu Xiang curled her lips. She had deliberately mentioned the contract renewal before to create a gap between the company and Chen Lifeng. Chen Lifeng's contract would expire in half a year. Previously, he and Chu Xiang were very cooperative with the company's arrangements and didn't have any intention of leaving. The company didn't think that he would leave at all. After the discussion, as long as Chen Lifeng didn't agree to the contract renewal immediately, the company would have some thoughts. Then it was even more unnecessary to lose a manager like Chu Xiang for him. Chu Xiang asked about the progress of the process of changing managers, and also mentioned that Fang Zhenxuan was following her. Her words caused the 5 people in the group to be at a loss for a moment. Who is Fang Zhenxuan? Chu Xiang told them that Fang Zhenxuan had an interview and happened to know her. Then she said, Fang Zhenxuan is a newcomer, but I'm confident that I can make him popular. After 2 days of recuperation, I'll take him to work. With such a sudden thing happening, I definitely have to prove myself as soon as possible. The HR department checked Fang Zhenxuan's information and found that he was indeed a newcomer. His talent in the interview was average. Although he had a good appearance, there were few men and women who entered the entertainment industry who didn't have good looks. Even if they were ugly, they could be packaged to look high class, and they would still be handsome enough to attract fans. Therefore, the company didn't have any special arrangements for such a newcomer with unknown potential. Since Chu Xiang wanted him, they would sell him to her. However, the company also said that if Chu Xiang's problem couldn't be solved this time, and the impact was bad in the end, it would be better to change Fang Zhenxuan to someone else. Chu Xiang agreed without any doubt. Chu Xiang said that she would wait for Chen Lifeng's reply without any attack power, and then quieted down again. Everyone in the company felt that she was too weak. Perhaps she really loved Chen Lifeng too much. Even at this point, she was unwilling to fight with Chen Lifeng directly, and had been silently enduring it alone. Imagination was a very powerful force. Unknowingly, in the eyes of the company, Chu Xiang became the one who was infatuated with giving, and the one who was stupid and unwilling to fight back. Chu Xiang went on Weibo to take a look. Her popularity had dropped a little, but she was still in the top 10. Many fans were still scolding her. How boring would it be if her popularity dropped? She wanted to add more popularity to the hot search before Chen Lifeng agreed to her. Fang Zhenxuan happened to buy the computer back. 45,000 yuan. The preparation is pretty good. The owner bought it for his own use. He hasn't opened the box yet. I discussed it with him for a while, and he agreed to transfer it to me. Chu Xiang opened it and looked at the preparation. She nodded in satisfaction. Well done. It's enough. Fang Zhenxuan pushed the table over and laid out the food. Nurse, you can eat some food that's easy to digest. You can do it after eating. Okay. Chu Xiang glanced at the food on the table, and then looked at Fang Zhenxuan, who went to carry Xinxin. She felt that the ward was inexplicably filled with a warm atmosphere. She asked again, "Can your life really be exposed? You don't mind?" Fang Zhenxuan replied, "I don't mind. What are you going to do?" Chu Xiang curled her lips. "Hype! What better time to show up than now? You have to be mentally prepared. You may be scolded at first, but believe me, the situation will turn around soon." "Okay, I believe you." Fang Zhenxuan looked at her with a smile in his eyes. There was no doubt in his mind. Chu Xiang smiled and ordered in a good mood, "Jinger, go take a few photos for us. Remember to take them secretly." The heaven and earth mirror was her natal magic weapon, and was connected to her mind. It didn't need her to do much to understand her meaning. It floated at the door and took many warm images of them laughing and eating. Then the heaven and earth mirror floated out, and observed all the nurses and patients invisibly. Some medical staff also liked to check the trending topics on Weibo. Chu Xiang was so popular, and there were photos of her on the internet. Of course, someone would recognize her. Moreover, her medical records were also recorded in the system. When there were more people, there would always be people gossiping in private, and even taking 1 or 2 photos. They wouldn't spread it, but they were still curious and gossipy. The heaven and earth mirror circled the hospital several times like looking for a needle in a haystack. Finally, it found a nurse who was sending WeChat messages to her friend. She sent a photo of Chu Xiang being pushed into the emergency room. At that time, Chu Xiang's face was pale, and she was lying on the trolley unconscious. She looked like a corpse. The heaven and earth mirror left the image of the photo and quickly returned to Chu Xiang's side. Chu Xiang smiled slightly, and found an excuse to go out for a walk. When she came back, she turned on the computer, and her fingers flew over the keyboard. The computer screen went black for a moment, and then lit up again. It seemed that nothing had changed, but a tight firewall had been built. She sent the photo that she had saved to a marketing account, claiming to be a passerby who had come to see a doctor. Because she knew that Chu Xiang had taken the photo, she revealed that Chu Xiang had almost died from alcohol poisoning the night before. She had to be resuscitated for a long time before she could recover. Currently, she was still very weak and under observation in the hospital. Chu Xiang was now very popular and involved the best actor, best actress, and a love dispute. The marketing account immediately sent the photo out, and even exaggerated the implication that Chu Xiang loved to drink. Other marketing accounts forwarded it immediately. Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's fans saw it immediately, and were even more disgusted with Chu Xiang. Is she threatening Feng Feng with suicide? Why is she so disgusting? If she really wants to die, can she survive? Can't she just drink herself to death at home? She's just causing trouble. Chu Xiang is one of the 3 most despicable people of the year. She's so disgusting. If she dares to moral blackmail, I'll tear her apart. Maybe it's not a suicide threat at all. Doesn't she have a messy private life and like to go to those kinds of drinking parties? Something will happen sooner or later. Feng Feng and Yuan, don't be soft-hearted. This woman deserves it. The fans hated her and wouldn't sympathize with her when they saw this message. Anyway, she didn't die, right? Even if she wanted to commit suicide, they would only scold her for not dying quickly. Some people doubted the authenticity of the message and checked it. They found that the IP address that first sent the photo was from the hospital, and the photo wasn't photoshopped. Chu Xiang might have really almost died. Some people suddenly realized that Chu Xiang didn't say anything after being scolded so badly. It turned out that she was in the hospital. Maybe she couldn't respond now. Feng Zhenxuan saw that they were all photos of Chen Lifeng and Chu Xiang. Most of them were photos of Chen Lifeng and Chu Xiang. Some of the photos were misplaced, as if they were hugging, but most of the photos were of them smiling. One look and one could tell that they were very close. Some people would even believe that they were a couple. Feng Zhenxuan asked with a strange expression. "You got someone to take these?" Chu Xiang rolled her eyes at him. "What are you thinking? I'm not a pervert. Why would I secretly take photos of myself? These were secretly taken by the paparazzi in the past few years. The industry is like this. If it's not a particularly explosive piece of news, they'll buy it from the main character." Previously, Chen Lifeng's career was on the rise and he didn't want to create scandals, so I bought all these photos. She bought the photos but didn't destroy them. They were still in her email. With Chu Xiang's feelings for Chen Lifeng, it was definitely not to threaten him. It could only be that she couldn't bear to destroy them, and wanted to keep a sweet memory. She didn't expect that this sweetness was glass shards, and in the end, it became a weapon to fight back against Chen Lifeng. Feng Zhenxuan thought about Chu Xiang's step-by-step arrangements and said thoughtfully, "Chen Lifeng has been hanging on to you for the past few years. Your chat records must be ambiguous. You have photos, videos, and chat records. As long as you expose them, you can prove that you're not the one who's pestering him. You don't want to face him head-on, because you won't get anything out of it even if you win?" Chu Xiang looked at him in surprise. "Not bad. You've adapted to the entertainment industry's roundabout ways so quickly. When you have time, you can check the big events in the past. The ones that were head-on were cool to watch at the time, but how many of them developed well after that? Think about it. If I did that, Chen Lifeng and I would also have a falling out. I hurt his interests, and he and Zhou Yuan would hate me and target me everywhere. The company would be dissatisfied with me because I hurt Chen Lifeng and the company's interests. They wouldn't give me good resources and wouldn't give me a chance to make a comeback. As for the netizens, I'm just a behind-the-scenes agent. They'll forget about me after a few days. The netizens who are fighting for justice and cheering for me won't give me a chance to work. And if the people in the industry see that I don't care and don't expose the evidence, will they still dare to work with me in the future? If there's any dispute, I'll expose the chat records and so on. How ugly will it be for everyone? This is a move that only people who are driven to a dead end would use. I have a very good path to take, so why would I go through hell mode?" After this, Feng Zhenxuan wasn't worried anymore. For some reason he believed that she could make a comeback. But he still asked, "Are you confident?" "Of course, I can also divert my attention and expose you. These are all things." Feng Zhenxuan looked at Chu Xiang's relaxed and confident look and couldn't help but laugh. His words became bolder. "This is the first time I've seen someone as strong as you. You just walked through the gates of hell after being heartbroken, and were even criticized by the entire internet. Now you're relaxed as if you're on vacation." "What vacation? I'm clearly working." Chu Xiang sorted out the photos and videos and began to make calls again. One call after another. She made more than 30 calls. At the same time, Chen Lifeng, Zhou Yuan, and Leo were also discussing. Leo was best at hype and traffic, so he didn't pay much attention to hard skills like acting. He felt that now that the Mortal Fate couple was in a romantic dispute, the love variety show would be a good time to hype it up. When the time came, they would attract the attention of the public and a group of fans would make up for the fans who lost their love. They could also let the remaining fans change their impression of them and accept the fact that they were together. At the same time, they could trample on Chu Xiang a few times and completely cut off Chu Xiang's path. It just so happened that the photos of Chu Xiang in the hospital were exposed, and the fans were scolding Chu Xiang. They only needed to wait a few more hours and cooperate with Chu Xiang's public relations before Chu Xiang's public relations. Then they would be just friends and get the resources. At that time, Chu Xiang would have been criticized to the point that she couldn't get up even if she wanted to. As for the passers-by who were unhappy now, Chu Xiang didn't make any moves in the future. Chun Lifeng and Zhou Yuan would film a love variety show and release a film and television work, so the passers-by would be back. There was nothing to be afraid of. They couldn't see any cards in Chu Xiang's hands and didn't think that she could make a comeback at all. They quickly analyzed and made a plan. Zhou Yuan was worried that Chu Xiang had some chat records, but Chun Lifeng denied it and insisted that he and Chu Xiang didn't have any ambiguous relationship. In fact, he was just confident. He knew how much Chu Xiang loved him. Now that Chu Xiang almost died, she didn't mention any chat records and didn't make trouble for him. Of course, it was because she still loved him and would rather hurt herself than hurt him. While his male superiority was satisfied, he was more relieved about this matter. He felt that everything was a foregone conclusion, and nothing could go wrong. He even opened champagne and celebrated in advance with Zhou Yuan. Chu Xiang was scolded so badly, but Chun Lifeng still had to think about it. The director of the company's public relations department was bitterly disappointed for Chu Xiang. They were partners who had worked together for so many years, but once they turned hostile, he became so heartless. Now she was more and more convinced that the whole thing was caused by Chun Lifeng. Chu Xiang was really pitiful. At this time, Chu Xiang sent a few more photos to the marketing account. They were photos of her, Fang Zhenxuan and Xian eating together. Xian's face was cleverly blocked, but from her dressing and sitting posture, it could be seen that she was a very cute girl. In one photo, Chu Xiang and Fang Zhenxuan looked at each other and smiled. Xian was eating with a spoon. In another photo, Chu Xiang and Fang Zhenxuan put food in Xian's bowl at the same time. Xian looked down at the bowl. In another photo, Fang Zhenxuan scooped soup and handed it to Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang took it with a happy smile. In another photo, Fang Zhenxuan handed a tissue to Chu Xiang. Xian knelt on the bed and fed Chu Xiang water. Chu Xiang smiled and touched Xian's head while Fang Zhenxuan looked at her from the side, and so on. In short, these photos were all full of warmth, making people feel a warm current flowing into their hearts. They would even unconsciously smile. Chu Xiang was in a very bad state, but the photo was taken from a little far away. Her bad skin couldn't be seen, but her beautiful facial features could be seen. Sick and weak beauty also had a different kind of beauty. Chu Xiang was wearing a white hospital gown and sitting on the hospital bed with a smile. It made people want to protect her and unconsciously think of beautiful things. Fang Zhenxuan didn't need to. He was only 22 years old, at the most youthful and energetic age. He was so handsome that he could attract all the attention just by sitting there. Beauty was justice. Many people who didn't know them suddenly came out to comment. Who is this? So beautiful and handsome. Are they a family of three? So loving and warm. Older sister and younger brother? There's an inexplicable sweetness. What's wrong with sister? What's wrong with her? It's really so loving. Mama, I believe in love again. Isn't this a still? Tell me which drama it is. Just based on the looks of the male and female leads, I'll definitely follow them. Tell me who this is. There were even more passers-by who understood the situation. Who is Chu Xiang threatening that person with suicide? Look at how happy Chu Xiang is. Her boyfriend is so handsome. Who would she like? Even if she's blind, she can't be so blind. Hee hee. Wow, fresh meat under the new year. Good. Her child is already so big? Then the news of her pestering Chun Lifeng is fake. Look at how warm their family of three is. I feel like I'm going to become a fan. Chu Xiang can't be an agent. She might as well debut. I'll be her fan. This brother is so handsome. Seeing Chu Xiang's state, I suddenly feel that Chun Lifeng and Zhou Yuan are sick. Outstanding people always have many suitors. Why don't they take a look at themselves? In terms of excellence, can they compare to her brother? When passers-by and fans argued, the more they argued, the more firm their position would be. Slowly, they became Chu Xiang's tap water. They were not fans, but they were better than fans. When they spoke up for her, they did not lose out to those fans at all. Chun Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's fans felt very strange. Wasn't Chu Xiang pestering Chun Lifeng desperately? Why was she smiling so happily in the hospital? Shouldn't she be crying bitterly and heartbroken now? Why was she smiling with another man? Who was that man? He's so handsome. Could he be an artist she slept with? But what's up with that girl? No matter how you look at it, she looks a little like family. These fans' emotions of hatred for Chu Xiang were at the peak. Without thinking much, they started to scold Chu Xiang. Bitch sleeping with fresh meat. She's so shameless. She must have done this a lot, right? Get out of the entertainment industry. Your daughter is already so old, yet she's still pestering our Feng Feng. Do you want Feng Feng to be the hero? Why don't you die? This man is so close to Chu Xiang. He's definitely not a good person. Haha, I wish your family death. Hell is suitable for you. Goodbye. The entertainment industry is a bus. She wants the best actor and fresh meat. She even went to a banquet to accompany investors. Chu Xiang is polluting the earth. I wish her to explode on the spot and be reincarnated as a beast. Very quickly, the internet started to argue. The popularity was unprecedentedly high. Zhou Yuan's and Chen Lifeng's fans scolded Chu Xiang more and more. Not only did they curse her to die, but they also implicated her family. They had no moral bottom line. When the scolding reached a certain level, the situation was reversed. A large number of passers-by came to condemn them. Everyone could find a reason to condemn them for their uneducated behavior. There was nothing good in an argument. Once the argument started, the topic would gradually go astray. From whether or not Chu Xiang was a prostitute, to whether or not Chu Xiang's private life was messy, to whether or not her manager was competent, to whether or not women were discriminated against, how many people hated women, how many brainless fans there were in the fan circle, and so on. It even spread to Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan. There were always rational people who could analyze it rationally. Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's two Weibo posts were thoroughly analyzed. The two of them looked magnanimous on the surface, but their actions of confirming Chu Xiang's scandals were also very scheming. Although there were fans who defended them crazily, this inference still affected the public's impression of them. When Chen Lifeng and the others found that a large number of passers-by had come to the scene, they could no longer control the public opinion. The internet water army was not omnipotent, and the netizens were not fools. When a large number of passers-by expressed different views, it was easier to clarify a matter. Chu Xiang had not said a word the whole time. On the contrary, Chen Lifeng had changed his manager, and even talked about Chu Xiang with Zhou Yuan. Chu Xiang had just survived in the hospital. No matter what the truth was, were they not a little too indifferent? Even if what they said was true, their image of being affectionate, gentle, and magnanimous had completely collapsed. Liu irritably looked for the internet water army to guide them, but it had little effect. He immediately contacted the company and accused Chu Xiang of causing trouble to Chen Lifeng. However, the head of the public relations department had already contacted Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang had just finished her meal and was on M4 drip. How could a patient like her, who even had trouble walking, cause trouble? Who would take photos of them? How could they arrange such a thorough plan in such a short time? The company was more willing to believe that this was an accident, because this time, someone knew that Chu Xiang was in the hospital and went over to watch the show. He happened to see them eating and took a few photos. This was not impossible. On the contrary, it was very reasonable. The company was afraid that Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's fans would go to the extreme and go to the hospital to find Chu Xiang. They also specifically asked her to change to another hospital, or simply go home to recuperate. Therefore, at this time, the company certainly would not suspect Chu Xiang with Liu. Instead, they felt that this was a good time to solve the problem. They advised Chen Lifeng to cooperate as soon as possible and calm the matter down so that outsiders would not laugh at them. Chen Lifeng felt that the company was dissatisfied with him and was in a bad mood. He did not expect that passers-by would inexplicably support Chu Xiang. There were no signs before. After discussing with Zhou Yuan, he felt that the situation might be a little out of control. It was not good or bad. It was better to calm it down as soon as possible. Anyway, they had kept a large number of their fans, and their original purpose had been achieved. Chen Lifeng expressed his willingness to cooperate with Chu Xiang through the company. When Chu Xiang received a call from the company, she said weakly, "I'm sorry. It may take a while. I just went through the discharge procedures and am going home. I'm outside now and my head is very dizzy. It's okay. It's still early. Is there anyone taking care of you? Do you want to ask Lin to go over? No, Feng Zhenxuan will help me. He will be my artist in the future, so he can know more about me. Ask Lin to help me run the procedures in the company. Thank you. Chu Xiang sincerely thanked him. Although this concern was the result of her guidance, kindness was kindness. She remembered it, and found an opportunity to return this favor in the future. She did go through the discharge procedures. Because of the leak of the photos, she agreed to the company's request, and went home to recuperate. She still had a lot of things to do. There were many eyes in the hospital. If they saw what she was doing and leaked it, then the crisis public relations would be in vain. As for the dizziness and the public relations later, this was an excuse. Now Chen Lifeng was willing to cooperate, but she was not. The time was not yet right. She had to delay and let the fans scold her more. She also had to let more passers-by see how unreasonable Chen Lifeng and Zhou Yuan's fans were. A comeback was always the last to get the biggest benefits and leave the deepest impression. Feng Zhenxuan called a car and sent her home with Xin. She did not expect the two of them to live so close. Even the neighboring area, which was a kilometer away, was considered an old area. Feng Zhenxuan was a little surprised. I thought you lived in a high-end area. I lived here in the beginning and was too lazy to change. I was too busy with work. I've lived here for a few years, so it's time to change. The security in a high-end area is several times better. When I'm better, I'll go look for houses. When the time comes, you and Xin can live across from me. It's convenient. Feng Zhenxuan was stunned. That's not possible for now. My savings are almost used up. I still have to wait for the manager to take me to a few jobs before I can move over. Chu Xiang chuckled. That's not a problem. I have money. Just treat it as lending it to you. After you start working, you must arrange the best environment and nanny for Xin to be at ease. Then you might as well arrange everything. The money used can be deducted slowly in the future. I believe you will be able to earn it back soon. Feng Zhenxuan did not refuse. Since the manager has so much confidence in me, then I'll do as you say. Don't call me manager. Call me sister. Let's go upstairs. I'm going to prepare for the next wave of material. I have to have some solid evidence to change my image. I can't let the people who are supporting me lose confidence. Chu Xiang's phone lit up a few times. She opened it and saw that they were all replies from her friends. Everything was ready. It seemed that the fans were almost done venting. It was time for them to suffer a little. What was more unbearable than finding out that everything was fake after a passionate battle? The more you gave, the more you cared. After being scolded for so long and putting in so much true feelings, you were even scolded by many passers-by. Now that they were told that things were not what they thought, how aggrieved would they be? Those who scolded her had to be returned to her. Let them also enjoy the feeling of being scolded. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.